Tammy. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm
I'm
good.
good. So, today we are going to be looking at the birth charts for Sebastian and Summer.
Okay.
So,
Very good.
I went ahead and did this kind of in depth. More for Summer, it's kind of just introducing you to her, like the situation and like kind of the circumstances around her disappearance, kind of the things we talked about.
Mhm.
And then, and with Sebastian's, it's kind of more of an update in relation to a lot of the things that have recently happened as far as, the new laws that they're trying to get into place, which I did put that information also in my community post. So if anybody's interested in that.
I did
But
see I did see that. That was very interesting.
yeah, and there's a lot of signatures and things like that, and so you can donate to it to help kind of spread awareness. But I think that they've gotten about 20,000 so far in donations or something around that, or at least 20,000 signatures. I think something
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
But I know, of course, they're still, always wanting and needing more. So, and we are kind of talking about in the last live, those, petitions being made to kind of create the laws that we were
Hmm.
talking about,
Yeah.
as far as like possible being able to report and have charges for any type of CPS reports after a child's, disappearance or something
Right.
like that. And so these charges and things like that just don't disappear. So
Right.
hopefully, with these laws and things like that, they can kind of start doing some of that and putting some of these things into place. But do you have any comments like about like before we get into the birth charts that you want to bring up about Summer or even Sebastian or the relation to them together in the same state?
I feel like with them, and I don't really know how, like, their cases could be just like one in 500 that ended up this way. Like, maybe this is one case CPS failed. Maybe this isn't the way it always is. But
Mm-hmm.
it seems like in both cases, CPS kind of dropped the ball somewhere.
Right, right. And one second, I'm gonna go ahead and put Rex in the garage because I can't hear too well. So one second, I apologize.
Rex is a ginger kitty, and he likes to talk like my ginger kitty likes to talk. I
Okay.
was saying
I
that Rex
apologize.
is a ginger kitty like my ginger kitty,
Yes,
and he likes to talk.
he does love to talk. He's like his mama. We just sit and talk and talk. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but he likes to rub on the computer, and then like the computer starts going back and forth, and you can't say
Right.
anything.
Right. Yep.
So, but yeah, like you were saying, I kind of in relation to this area of kind of the things that have happened and the disappearance and stuff like that, and having those things kind of look further into would be great. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, with this chart, I'm going to go ahead and kind of pull it up on the side so you can see it. And this is just going to kind of start out with Sebastian. So this is going to be the updated birth chart for him. Just a spiritual kind of message and any kind of thing that you can pick up from his birth chart that's kind of again related to what's going on right now in his case. So before we get into it though, is there anything that you want to comment on
On his
before we get into his birth chart? Just anything about, you know, anything that's happened recently with his dad speaking out or anything?
I think that when Seth spoke out, that was really and you can
Yeah,
really feel how sad he was and
right.
how frustrated he is. And I don't blame him. I would be so frustrated at that point because it does feel like nothing has happened.
Yeah, it does now. At first, it
Yeah.
kind of felt like there might have been something kind of happening a little bit more behind the scenes of things, but now it kind of feels like we said in the last one that for whatever reason it feels abruptly shut
Mhm.
down. So
Yeah.
we'll kind of look at this and like you said, and we'll kind of go ahead and look into that though. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of get into his now and we'll just see what that tells us about it.
Okay.
So for Sebastian's birth chart and his spiritual voice and then it has his birth date and where, and that he's a Sagittarius sun. So his current soul energy. Sebastian's chart shows deep soul strength in Jupiter, which is now activating long hidden truth. His chart indicates spiritual voice amplification. This means that more people will soon feel the nudge to speak for him, often unexpectedly. So, Pluto's ongoing influence suggests secret motives are coming out, which is pushing the hidden and unseen to the surface. So, from his soul's perspective, He feels a bit more distanced emotionally because he is focusing his energy like a beacon, encouraging the truth to emerge in real world actions and not just feelings. He's protective while guiding certain investigators and witnesses to feel sudden gut pulls to say more or revisit the evidence because there is plenty being hidden. So he wants you to trust that. Your grief is fuel and not punishment. So this message is for the individuals that connect to his story very deeply because there's like a lot of people, I don't know if you've noticed, who will say right away that they have a really deep like pull and connection to his case a lot of times, which
Yeah.
they do with all of them. But I don't know, this one you see it a lot more kind of in like comments of videos and stuff, just like people kind of putting full paragraphs of how they
Right.
kind of feel this relation to him and wanting
Yeah.
him to be able to get some notice in the case and have movement in it. So this is going to go more now into his stepdad's chart kind of right now and the vibes behind his stepdad. So the current energy there is under Pluto and Uranus transits, his mask of control is starting to crack. Saturn shows increasing pressure, slip ups, contradictory statements, and heightened paranoia. If formal charges come, likely within 6 to 12 months, they are aligned with Mars and Saturn aspects that help to push law enforcement to act finally and speak out to clarify loose ends. And so the reason I want to stop there too is because, like I had mentioned with in the last live about Harmony Montgomery, and once they were able to get to proof of life, they were everything like domino affected into the father
Yeah.
being charged, who is now in jail, which I believe they said for about 65 years to life now.
Right.
So
Yep.
in that case too, there is no, they never found Harmony Montgomery.
Harmony.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the same situation in that sense. There was plenty of CPS reports. There was proof of abuse. Um, she just happened to disappear. She was gone for many years, and then he was still able to be charged by the proof of life and everything that followed after that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where this stood out to me again when this came up. So I thought, it's a good positive thing to hear and see. So you just want to stay
Yeah.
hopeful.
And there
So
was more than one CPS report on Harmony too, also, right?
yeah, yeah, and like to the
Yeah.
point, like her brothers and sisters were a
Yeah.
part of it and said that they saw her being abused. Like her brother, I had posted it again on the community tab. I don't know if you saw it, because it was just a short of like after basically the sentencing. It was during the sentencing, and someone had spoken for the brother, the younger brother, and he
Mm-hmm.
had written a little goodbye, and statement about his sister and how he missed her and things like that. He wished he could take her to school and show you. And then he said, I hope wherever she is, her glasses aren't broken, and like all of her toys, how like she would give him her broken toys, like all her toys were basically broken kind of thing,
Yeah.
and so it's just sad, you know what I mean? So like even these small other children that were her brother, half brothers and sister, they all saw that too. So and again, like I don't know, much about how much faith was around Sebastian or not.
Right. I don't either.
Probably
I
a
know
good
that they
chance.
met. I know that they did
Yeah.
know each other. They had met, but I
Yeah,
don't
I do
know
believe
how.
there's a picture when they're really, really young.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you're saying, I don't know how much they interacted after
You're
that, right,
right.
at that age. But so yeah, so I just thought about, kind of Harmony Montgomery here and things like that.
Mm.
So basically also for his stepdad, and his current energy and vibes, you have also his perspective. So I put, Crispy feels cornered but tries to appear calm. He is likely arguing even more behind closed doors. His charts, Mars placements show defensive aggression if he feels provoked or if he gets questioned directly in any way. He may attempt manipulation tactics, but the cracks show in his stress patterns. So his mother's chart is going to be next. So the mother's mental state, her current energy is she's under Neptune's fog and Pluto's pressure for truth. So this shows emotional escapism, self-pity, and some regret coexisting with denial. Alcohol or avoidance coping mechanisms may spike, and Jupiter's influence suggests possible leaks. People near her or within the family may speak out, possibly motivated by guilt or sudden moral pains. So this is like a repetitive thing I also see in his mom's chart, that like people end up flipping on her or something
Mhm.
like that. And so I don't know if like betrayal is like into her chart. It seems
Right.
to be. I mean, she be
Yeah.
in the sense from what I'm seeing, in my opinion so far, it was a bit of a betrayal of what she's done, so in my opinion. So that seems to be tied into her chart. So I mean, it would the chances leading towards, if she can't keep on good terms with some of these people, betrayal coming back to bite her from those people is pretty good. And you would hope, because he was 15, that it would be greater.
Right.
So also in her perspective, there's deep inner conflict. There's part shame and part fantasy that nothing will ever happen in Sebastian's case. She may lash out verbally at the stepdad, blaming him, yet protecting herself. She fears being publicly blamed more than being legally punished. And her chart shows her image concern is stronger than her ethics. So I think that's what a lot of this has always been with her. And like maybe
Mm-hmm.
you were saying too, like whenever the diagnosis possibly came, that it was
Mm-hmm.
like an image concern kind of thing more for her. And
Yeah.
so she kind of morally weighed that out with, again, that's why I think she in the beginning pushes the idea of he was not able to maybe communicate like everyone else, or he was not able to do things physically like everybody else, because
Mm-hmm.
that's how she had to look at it for her to be able to move and function the way
Right.
she was
Right.
within this relationship with him. So the next part of this, though, is going to be his biological father's chart and his role, what's going on currently as far as everything. So the current energy with him is there is a strong push from Saturn and Uranus to demand legal accountability. His public interviews and petitions align with Jupiter's influence to amplify his other parents' voices, and as well as his own. So you can expect more immediate appearances from him. He may gain supportive allies, other families in similar positions, advocates, or legal support. His possible perspective. From the charts, he usually feels constant sorrow, but works very hard to feel resolved in that. He is working to his best ability so that he can lead in the search for his beautiful son, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. His father is a wild card catalyst. This means that his actions may sway local attention or force officials into acting sooner. So that's kind of like what you were saying about the passion in his, you
Yeah.
know, in his commentary in the interview that he did recently. You could really feel that the frustration and in the sense that nothing was happening, and that and he's feeling like, the Ellie there is not acting as if they even care,
Right.
and again, that's his son. He matters to him, like he says, and so he wants them to behave the same. And if they don't care, then like he said, pass it on.
And
So
it's kind of so hard to believe that they, all those CPS reports are there, but yet there's still nothing being done about what happened to Sebastian previously. That
yeah,
matters. That
yeah,
matters. What happened to him before
previously.
matters, and
Yeah.
they're not doing anything about that.
Right. And if there is this connection to where there's some type of things being covered, possibly covered up or whatever, allegedly or whatever's going on. But it is a smaller town, and it makes you wonder, did they know Sebastian? These particular individuals who are covering it, or whatever's going on. So it just kind of makes you even more question their, who they are,
I
in
think
their
you're
personal life.
frozen, Megan.
Oh, okay. 1 second.
I was like, I know she can't be that still and talk.
Yeah, I really can't. It'll have to like release at some minute. I don't know. Like, I don't think I can make it. I can try to see if like I can clear like catch or
I
something.
think that would be hard to do while you're live, but
Yeah, it would. So,
yeah.
but we'll go ahead. I don't know if we can go ahead and finish reading this. I can just pull up the
Okay.
full one, let them freezes. So,
Okay.
let me see. Did it pull up the whole screen for you?
It did. Yeah. I see it. Yep.
Okay. So we have case and legal outlook key points. So this is summer of 2025 onward. So Jupiter's direct motion favors legal movement and fresh eyes on old files. August to October shows critical review points, documents re-examined, and people re-interviewed. Watch for news or leaks around court schedules or public statements late 2025 to early 2026. Eclipses stir hidden facts. So also truth pushing is something that's going to help here too. So this is going to be things that will help kind of move the case forward in these next few checkpoints. So
Yeah.
it's going to be more of like a truth pushing. So cosmic conditions now favor exposure. So keeping up momentum online in the form of video shares and polite pressure on officials, because it's kind of like that saying of like you'll get more with sugar than salt.
Yeah. I like that polite pressure.
Because they
Yeah,
can't say, oh, well, they're being, irate, or they're being this or they're being that, so we're
right,
not going to even deal with it. Yeah, so it's like, so what, you're just going to shun people who are actually trying, like, you know what I mean?
right,
People who are being
right.
sweet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I thought that was a good thing to add there. So
yeah.
the stepdad's weak spot. He fears sudden evidence being dropped in conflicting timelines.
Hmm.
Mother's weak spot. She fears being seen as negligent more than being accused directly as, being involved. So, which again just shows you her mind frame. Like, how could that be
Yeah,
the biggest thing you're focused on? Which I do think it is. I think the biggest thing
image.
she's focused
Yeah,
on is her image. Yeah,
yeah,
which, yeah, something there. But
yeah,
Sebastian's soul here kind of involved in that situation. So Sebastian feels your effort like gentle hands holding a lantern. He stays protective but less chatty because he is busy focusing energy on people who can move the case physically. So I did kind of notice, like, you do see that where he gets these periods of very quietness, which I mean most
mhm,
cases do have that anyways, but I do feel like his gets extra kind of calmness to it for some reason when you
yeah,
look
yeah,
at it. And I think that's the times when, like, they're saying maybe it's more that he's focusing on the certain people to kind of zone in and make sure they actually, like, they really really hear it.
yeah.
So and then this is going to be Sebastian's chart, so legal and investigative outlook. So the current legal undercurrents, summer of 2025. Sebastian's chart shows strong Mercury Pluto aspects, which continue to intensify through mid 2025. This is often a sign of hidden truth surfacing unexpectedly. This presents usually through tips, overlooked evidence, or confessions forced by guilt or pressure. It suggests that law enforcement may revisit or re examine statements and digital traces. Text messages and online behavior will also be looked into, and that will also, I feel, be connected to his stepdad and mother.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering. We talked about this in the last one too, with the phones and stuff. I'll try to pull up
Yeah.
and see if the cameras work again. We'll attempt it again. Am I still frozen, or can you see me?
Yeah, you're still frozen.
I'm still frozen. Okay.
Yep.
So we'll go back to this. So yeah, with that, I think a lot of that will be pulled up just because the mother was into that a lot, as far as like working, and that's what she did, and they
Yeah.
didn't really
Yep.
pull a lot of that information in the beginning forward.
Hmm.
So
And
it'll
they're
be interesting.
probably going to use against them all of the YouTube appearances they made and how not so much her, but how vile and rude he was. That just shows his temper
Yeah,
and his
yeah,
personality, and they will have to look at that too.
yeah. I think so. I mean, and like, when Peter Hyatt first started looking into it, on his channel and stuff, that was his biggest point of the fact that, like, you almost want to thank him, like you were saying, even for doing all those interviews and doing all
Yeah,
that.
you're
So,
like, yeah, yep,
yeah, because you gave, when it's time, you gave evidence, in my opinion, So I mean,
exactly. Yeah, you proved everybody right that you have a temper.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then hello, Diver Mystic. It's so nice to see you.
Yes. Good
And
to
thank
see
you
you.
for joining us. It's been a while since we've been kind of doing live. So it's nice to have, like you said last time, to have people come in that we haven't seen in a bit. So
Yes, it
I hope
is.
you've been well. And then Chief, hello. So thanks for being here and modding. We appreciate it. And then, so we're going to go ahead also and to see what to look for and what to watch out for coming up with Sebastian's case. So, what you're going to want to watch out and listen for is going to be sudden interest by a different agency or an investigator. Let me see, take that off the screen real
Hmm.
quick. Oh, sorry, I thought I did. Okay, back to it. So, sudden interest by a different agency or investigator, leaks to local media sparking new public outrage, anonymous or surprise witnesses stepping forward, which I feel like some neighbors are doing that, or it's going to kind of align around them. But these also align with the Sun and Mars transits. This presses on old secrets and pushes them into daylight. Expect abrupt revelations rather than a slow build. So, with his stepdad and mom's role, cracking under pressure. So, both parental charts show stressful Saturn and Neptune squares, classic markers for mental strain, inconsistencies, and self sabotage under interrogation or immediate attention. What you should expect: stepdad, erratic behavior. possibly contradictory stories, or an outburst. It might push law enforcement to corner him with new questioning. So hopefully that's going to be some of the stuff like you were saying from the internet or even
Yeah.
things related to it. But with
Right.
the mother, yeah, with the mother, moments of deep regret mixed with defensiveness. She may slip up, share more than intended, or might be caught communicating with someone suspicious. And I
Mm.
kind of feel like this. I feel like she talks too much. You know
Yeah.
what I
Oh,
mean?
she does. That's why he don't let her do interviews.
Yeah, that's true. I forget she really doesn't do the interviews, and when she, well,
Mm.
I don't forget,
Right.
but you
Yeah.
just don't. Yeah, when you bring it up, yeah, that's why she doesn't do it. But yeah, so that would definitely be something you see from her a lot. But the talking with somebody and communicating with somebody that brings up suspicion, I think, is interesting because it does
And it.
feel like somebody will flip a roll on her if they get irritated enough with her.
Yeah. Because family dynamics of hers is kind of on the well, you know how her mom's history,
Right. Well, even
and
his though, too.
yeah,
Like they don't owe her at this point. Like they are sticking to the story that he wasn't there. So,
right,
I mean, if they have as much money and they try to push all these lawsuits and whatever as much as they do, it gives you the impression that if they really had to throw her under the bus, they would.
right,
And
right,
if they have the money to do it, why wouldn't they consult somebody to do it?
yeah. That's why I
So,
believe he's there because if it was just her, he would have thrown her under the bus. That's my opinion.
yeah, yeah, and I agree with you on that. I
Yeah.
definitely think that that's why he hasn't left or said anything
Yep.
negative towards her is because they set it up together, in my
Yep.
opinion.
Yep.
So, the one a clue for that also that you want to look for and is like look for sudden social media, uh, disappearances, deleted accounts, or family members distancing themselves from them. So these are spiritual breadcrumbs uh, that lead Sebastian's to be noticed, and what happened to him and how it possibly could have happened.
Yeah.
So,
And they're
and what?
already not. They haven't been on social media in a while.
No, they haven't. He's been quiet,
Yeah.
and it's when people get quiet, you wonder why are they so quiet,
Yeah.
especially
All of a
him.
sudden, you know, because he wasn't for
No, he's never been quiet. It seems
no.
since day one, and then even when he makes like the comment, like you said in the last one, about saying, uh, almost like Sebastian pulled this off to like disappear kind of thing. It's like he's kind of boasting on what he was able to do in the situation. Is
Right.
how I see it when he speaks that way. So again, those are
Right.
breadcrumbs to me. I mean, that's not I don't know how much that is evidence, but if you can add that up with digital evidence, I think that's pretty good
Yeah. Yeah.
leading towards it. It would be for me if I was sitting on a jury. So if he
Right.
was making those comments and then there was something able to be added to that later to back that comment up, so what you want to look for with that also is again old phone data, computer, or backed up files that resurface. So and I think that's interesting too in relation to the fact that she would have tried to hide a lot of those things, and that was what her specialty kind of was. I feel like in
Right.
this
Yep.
she was yeah, she was trained in it.
Mhm.
So you also want to look for a piece of clothing, a toy. So it could be like what he liked, like the switches or things like that too. But or an item that was hidden that gets turned over by someone close from to the family. So possibly a neighbor's testimony about noise or suspicious activity that never came up before.
Mhm.
And some of these things that were recently pulled from the media were from neighbors' cameras, I
Right.
want to say. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they had commentary on it too. Why wouldn't they?
Right. Or yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, you
Like
would
the
think
one that there's one video that is the neighbor's camera, and it caught like you probably seen it. It caught like a car. So it caught like a car turning on like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you
mm-hmm.
can see the lights turn on the car, and then you can see movement in the car next to it. So that could be something like there could be voice on that because
Yeah,
if it caught the car, if it was close enough to get the car lights turning on,
yeah,
it it may be close enough to get voices if there was people talking.
yeah. That's a good point. I would think you probably could, and maybe depending on what like you're saying, what kind of camera
Right, what
that it
kind of camera
was.
it is. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be a good possibility. Who knows? That like so. That would be good to know.
Yeah, it would.
But the number 4 that you kind of want to look here, of what to kind of look out for is media surge and public pressure. So the chart's lunar transits show public interest spikes mid-late summer. So expect local news or an independent investigator to run an expo, viral social posts pushing the case back into the headlines, petitions or fundraisers, traction gaining
Mm,
speed, or pressuring officials, which that's all
mhm.
happened recently within the last
Yep.
month or so, a little bit
Mhm.
longer. And
Yep.
again, that if you want to sign that and donate to that, that is in my community post. So that's there if y'all are interested. And then I'll also link it in this video after this. But for Sebastian's energy supports those pushing for justice and your voices, and post shares amplify that collective push to be able to do that, because his is gentle. So him and Summer both have this thing of they don't really like the spectacle of things. It's more
Mhm.
kind of like the coming from the heart and being heartfelt and kind of sharing your connection and why it moves you to do
Yeah.
better. You know what I mean? So, and then actually like doing better with it, like applying the things that you learn from it from your life, like actually reflecting on it. Like those are things that they both want you to kind of do, it seems, from
Yeah.
their charts and kind of energy. That's more what they're kind of about.
Yeah.
So, and we'll get into the Summer's chart soon too. So also with for his, you want to look at family and close circle leaks. So finally, the note that Neptune activation suggests betrayal within their circle. Someone trusted me. Secretly record conversations. Tip offs to the media or police by these individuals. They possibly flip sides to save themselves. This is how spirit exposes the truth, is protected by hidden allies and working in silence. So,
Well, there has been somebody that secretly recorded. I believe it was when one of the, I won't say the creator here just
yeah.
because, you know, but when she had to go to court, they were in the courtroom and they were talking, and somebody secretly recorded them and they didn't know it.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
See, I'd heard about it, but I didn't get a chance to look into it anymore. So,
I didn't get to look into it either, like real deep into it, but I do know that that did happen. I just don't know all the specifics behind
so
it.
they didn't say like what was possibly said or anything then.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So again, that would hopefully be something that comes out pretty soon.
Yeah.
So that would be nice if that's the kind of information.
Yeah.
So this is kind of just going to be also kind of more focused into the forecast for his legal kind of aspects of his chart. And then after this part, we'll kind of go into Summers, but I kind of like to do a summary at the end of each chart of kind of what we got out of
Yeah.
all of it. So for Sebastian's updated birth chart forecast for the summer of 2025, and then beyond that, his current energies in the summer of 2025. So right now, Sebastian's chart shows that truthful energy is at a peak. This is pushing community movements, hidden info, and collective calls for justice to break through barriers. So emotionally, this brings intense memories resurfacing, rumors or tips gaining real traction, tension with those who know more than they admit. And then the next one's going to be summer to fall of 2025. So critical unraveling happens during that time. So through August into October of 2025, Pluto's steady pressure makes secrets heavy and hard to contain. For Sebastian's stepdad, which I got his birthday around October of 1983. If anybody has anything different than that, go ahead and feel free to leave that and I'll factor that in. But that's what I got. And for him and his mother, the mother is August of 1989. So their chart show fraying nerves, regret surfacing under stress, and
Yeah.
possible slip ups. So especially under questioning or media glare, which the
Hmm.
mom does that a lot more than what he does, the
Yeah.
stepdad. So this period favors investigators revisiting old statements, rechecking evidence, and tying loose threads. So the collective energy supports shining lights into ignored corners.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of what the law, again, is doing. It's shining a light to what's been ignored.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's what brings that out. So the third one you want to look for, though, is going to be late 2025 to early 2026. Legal and public turning points. Official statements that hint at progress, new witnesses, revisited charges, or deeper public accountability. For the mother and stepdad, astrology shows more visible fear and desperation to control their image, and you can also expect contradictions or outbursts.
Hmm.
The Sagittarius Gemini axis in his chart signals truth spreading online quickly and helping pressures stay high. So the number 4 one is going to be spiritual layer, Sebastian's soul now. His soul feels older, calmer, and deeply watchful. He is not gone, but woven into the momentum for justice. His Sagittarius nature means he continues to stir honesty and courage, even humor to keep people going. For all those who love him, he remains a warm flicker near your daily life, which kind of whispers, keep going, the truth, keep going and tell the truth, let it breathe. So I messed up the spelling there. And then on the number 5 one is going to be how to align with this energy. Use your voice clearly, speak simple facts, heartfelt
Yeah.
prayers, and steady reminders. Expect sudden new eyes on old clues. Protect your emotional energy. The truth may stir envy, denial, or backlash from those who fear exposure. Light candles or speak blessings aloud. It fortifies his legacy with love. So, key predictions for now: police or legal shifts by the end of 2025, cracks in the family's false stories,
Mhm.
watch for public slip ups. His spirit remains close to those who stay honest. Community support grows with small shares that ripple out big. So your key takeaways for that is going to be timing. Major shifts peak between August to October of 2025, but rumblings of that will start sooner. Focus. Small overlooked clues, strained lies, and a push from the public will unlock momentum. Advice for Sebastian's army. Keep sharing respectfully, stay vocal, and don't lose hope. These transits show the case cannot stay hidden forever.
Yeah.
A closing blessing. Sebastian, may your voice echo where silence once lived. May every hidden fact walk into the light, and may your protectors in spirit and in life find strength. And may justice flow in its own time, but unstoppable.
Oh,
So I liked that prayer
that is.
for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so how is there anything that you want to say about the like kind of the legal aspects of that, or just anything out of the chart that stood out to you or jumped out?
Well, there's a lot of things in there like that the chart is showing that has already happened, you know.
Hmm.
And I like the fact that it says that the that law enforcement is going to shine light on old clues
Hmm.
because I feel like there's a lot of things that they just kind of skimmed over. And I'm not saying anything bad about what they did. Um,
Yeah.
but I know when you are investigating, well, I don't know. I've never investigated a case like law enforcement do. But when you're investigating, you try to get all of the clues and you may not can really go through them or go over them or deep dive into them, you know, because you're trying to get everything together.
Hmm.
But I feel like a lot of times law enforcement doesn't look outside the box well enough.
Yeah.
Like they get this tunnel vision and they just say, well, it can't be this and it can't be that. But they don't realize that it can be that.
Yeah.
Just not looking outside the box at how many different ways something can be done. You know what I
Right.
mean? They just kind of get this like, well, it can't be that way. And so I think I like that the light is going to be shined back on old evidence. I like that, or old clues, because I feel like that's where they're going to find some stuff that they just didn't think of was important before.
Yeah. And I kind of like it's predictions that new eyes will be put on it. And obviously, we're hoping that really does happen. That's what his dad is asking for, Seth. And I think it needs to happen at this point. It's been over a year. They're not, and he's saying they're not, he doesn't feel they're doing anything. So for the most part, I mean, I'm going to go with what his biological dad, who's searching for him, is
Yeah.
saying. So if he feels
Hmm.
that nothing is happening, then I would hope that, all the community and everybody is, hearing this would all be supportive of him and try to maybe find out what they can do to help support that. You know what I mean? Because again, I mean, what else, why wouldn't you, and especially in these kind of situations. So you want to help and do the best thing you can to try to figure out what's going on and how to make things better. Like you said, better laws, all those things that they're kind of talking about here.
Because they were communicating with him before, and then it kind of, because he said, and even Tony said, Seth talks with them on a daily basis, and then it kind of stopped. So,
Yeah.
and Seth wouldn't have said they're not doing anything, so I feel like the communication stopped.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him one bit, because that's usually how you get things stirred back up, as a family member or a parent or somebody says you're not doing enough, and if you bring the media in, and that brings attention, and then they have to start doing something again. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And then, you kind of want them to act as if that they want kind of get the ball rolling and things. So, I mean, that's kind of what you want to see from them. They're not doing that at this point. So you kind of want them to move over to the side anyways, let somebody else take
right,
that and see
right,
what you can do with that.
yep.
So I do think that's important too, kind of like you're saying, for
Hmm.
the near future of the case. But we also do have, excuse me, summer chart coming up here.
Yeah,
So I
really
kind of did,
interesting.
yeah. So this is going to be a more of an in-depth birth chart of her and just kind of a spiritual forecast of the, around the time that she went missing. Um, I didn't get, there's a little bit of legal stuff in here, like a little bit of legal procedures, things like that might come forward in the future. So,
Oh,
do you want to help me kind of read this one since, are
sure,
you able to see it well?
sure, I can see it. Hmm.
Okay. And then whenever you're ready, just go ahead and start, and then I will kind of just scroll down for you and we'll
He
take care of
move this kitty he's gotten in my lap again.
it.
Okay. Summer Wells in depth birth chart and psychic spiritual forecast. This is Summer's soul profile and natal blueprint. She's so cute.
Then she.
Summer's Aquarian sun shows a deeply curious and free spirited child. Oh, yes, I would have to
Mhm.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Someone who loved to explore, ask questions, and also felt drawn to the natural world. Children with strong Aquarius energy often trust easily, seeing in the world with innocent wonder, but not always sensing danger in familiar places. Her moon is likely in Libra or Scorpio. Without an exact time, this shifts, but intuition leans towards Scorpio. So this brings a heightened emotional depth for a young age. Summer likely felt feelings intensely and formed very strong, clingy attachments, yep, to certain people she trusted. Mercury in Capricorn, practical and wise beyond years in her speech patterns. Mhm. She may have been blunt or unusually mature in how she spoke.
This is your
We
prediction.
okay,
Say that.
all right. Venus and Capricorn, Summer was loyal and clung to family connections no matter how flawed they might be. Yeah. Natal clues and sensitive houses. Summer's chart shows a very active fourth house, home and family dynamics, which highlights the household as the origin point of key events. Neptune squares suggest confusion, secrecy, illusions, and perhaps substance or denial energies around the adults in her environment. Yep. Pluto aspects show a karmic theme, power struggles, and hidden truths within the family system. These aspects combined often indicate
A child deeply enmeshed in the surrounding adult secrets, but not being fully protected by the very people that were expected to shield her,
I
which is
couldn't
kind of
see
what you
was
were.
the little
Oh, that thing on the. I'm sorry, I
yeah,
forgot
I
it's on
can't
there.
I'm trying to speak it. There we go.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay.
So, do you have any comment about that though, as far as the home and dynamics? Because I know you
Oh
kind of
yeah.
were saying that you
Yeah.
felt that even the grandmother possibly kind of played a role in this. So, I thought that was
Oh
interesting
yeah.
that it all said within family and close to
Yeah.
her, like people she would have trusted even outside of her parents, which to
Yeah.
me
See that,
leans to like a grandmother figure.
and and I do believe that the grandmother had something to do with it, or is in the mix of it.
Hmm.
Um, and where it says she is clingy and often clings to
Hmm.
people she trusts. That would bring Robin in the picture because Robin was the lady from the church.
I don't know anything about Robin.
And Summer clung to her. She would, I mean, when she would go to church, she would stay with her. She'd make her hold her, she'd
Oh,
follow her around. She actually loved her. So that makes sense in that because she really did cling to Robin.
yeah.
Very
I
strong.
kind of remember, and not to say like it was in a positive way for him, but I kind of remember her dad even
Yeah.
saying that she was
Yeah.
clingy. That they all said that she was clingy. But I mean, so yeah, so I thought that was interesting when I did because I didn't know about Robin. So
Yeah.
that adds two people now that
Right.
saw the same thing.
Right. And the
So
karmic theme for me is Rose.
mm,
Rose is the missing aunt.
yeah, what's your opinion on that situation? Just out of curiosity.
They are the same, one and the same people responsible for both
But why
incidents.
do you think that that would have happened with it? I mean, I remember doing readings about it when it
Mm-hmm.
all first took place, but it was so
Mm-hmm.
long ago. I just don't remember the details of it because I kind of just did like questions on a live about it. So,
Right.
could is there any information like towards that you feel comfortable giving about Rose or why you think they're
Um,
possibly connected, similarities, any of that?
well, Rose was, of course, Candace's sister. And I don't, it's been said, I don't know how true it is, but it's been said that she was jealous of Rose because Rose was easier to look at than
Right.
Candace. So
Yeah, I remember that.
there was that. And at one time, Rose was keeping two of Candace's kids, not not in the boys or Summer. This was before, way before them. And for a year, she had kept two of Candace's kids, and then she had given them back, of course, because they're Candace's. But
Right.
there was always a jealous thing there between Rose and Candace from the information that I had been given when I was studying Rose. Um, so I feel like it themed around that area.
So it basically kind of for you boiled down to like a jealousy thing then, for
Yeah,
the most part.
yeah,
Okay. So yeah, because I remember for the most part feeling like that, but I didn't kind of look more into it after that to kind of like you're saying to see if there was anything else that triggered those feelings or that hatred other than just being kind of jealous of
yeah,
simple things like her looks and just
yeah,
people liking her.
yeah. In
Kind of
general,
like yeah, kind of like CP. Like
yeah,
he's just jealous of Sebastian because people like him. You know
right,
what I mean? And people don't
right,
like CP
right,
and KP. And to me, like they're very fake people. So what you think you like of them is not what they really are.
right.
They're presenting this front to you. And I think a lot of this front that they're getting is like even I noticed in court, and this might be tiny, but I don't know, with her braid and that she wears all the time when she's on the news and things like that. She very much clean cuts herself up. I feel like you would almost within the military or services or
Yeah,
things like that. So she goes to that automatic, like if I make myself look like this, then people are gonna think I'm put together, a kind of
right.
thing.
Well,
So
we
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it is one of those things, but I feel like I noticed that a lot about her. It's yes, ma'am, like in all these braids and like a
hmm
braid in her hair, a nice little tight bun. I don't know. I just feel like she
yeah,
puts on a show and,
yeah,
and shows you what she wants you to see.
yeah,
And that
yep,
outside appearance has a lot to do with that for her. So,
hmm
and it did kind of say that kind of in her chart too. The outside appearance is what she's worried about the most.
yeah,
But
yep.
so let's see. I kind of got off track. Sorry.
No,
Let me
it's okay.
see. So also with Summer here, the other key that you would kind of want to look for in her disappearance chart insights here. So the transits for mid June to the transit for mid June 2021 shows. So this is around the time she went missing. So Neptune is strongly activated, which creates deception, fogginess, and shifting stories. Saturn challenges her natal sun, meaning restrictions or confinement. Mars aspects point to impulsive actions, possible accidents, or an argument that escalated. Spiritually, there is a feeling that multiple truths coexist within her case. There was an element of neglect or recklessness endangerment. Not necessarily a stranger abduction in the typical sense, though. It feels closer to home. involving someone she knew or trusted. So I added mother and grandmother there
Yep.
just because of the story and the
Yep.
whole candy story and stuff.
Yep.
So another thing to look out for, was current energies coming up right now in the summer of 2025. So her chart today pulses with Pluto and Saturn heavily square, a sign that karma is overdue. So Mercury nodes are also reactivating. Past communication or new information is likely to come from siblings, cousins, or even possibly a peer who overheard or saw something but didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand its importance at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of stood out to me when you said the oldest child's name the
Mm-hmm.
other day. I don't know
Yeah.
why that kind of stood out to me because they were, again, possibly just because they're older. So
Mm-hmm.
they're, as you, like we were talking about in the last live show, as you get older, you just kind of notice things that were done wrong or things that you didn't notice at the time. And so it makes me wonder
Right.
as the boys get older.
Right.
And he wasn't in school though, that you said, right? She wasn't in school at all.
She was starting that year. That this
Okay.
was her summer before she would have started in August.
Okay.
So, yep,
So
this
there
would have
wasn't
been
like peers at school that could have heard stories yet. So, and I think that has a lot to do with what you were saying also in the last live is that she was getting ready to go to school and that
right.
she talked very maturely for her age. And so
Mm-hmm.
that would have been something that scared them, kind of like also with the Proudfoots, in my opinion. So these
Mm-hmm.
are where I think these cases mirror each other. They were finding their voices and they were kind of speaking that and letting people know what was going on. And
Yeah.
so that was their biggest fears because that outs them pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
which is what we want, but not what they want.
Right.
So, in a legal sense, just throw that in. In a legal sense, this suggests old statements will and should be reexamined in both cases,
Mhm.
but especially with Summers too, because I think a lot of people hide what they're saying here, which I think they're hidden in both. But again, with Summers too, as the years have gone by, someone feels under pressure to tell known inconsistencies. And then there's possible forensic or digital evidence that is still needing to be processed. Do you feel like there's any digital or evidence that would ever come forward in her case
Um,
at this point?
it's hard to say that I feel any like if there is any physical evidence that I feel like that would come, it would be when they found her.
Yeah.
Because I don't know of anything that they could have now that would bring them to find her. It's been 4 years. So unless the only thing that could possibly feel like, and I felt there's something odd about it, is there is a tablet, like a little, I don't know if you'd call it an iPad tablet or uh,
Like a
something that
knockoff kind.
a knobby or whatever that you give
Yeah.
kids to play with. Summer had one, and
Hmm.
it was in the house, and then they said, oh, they missed the tablet, they never took it, and then nothing else was ever said about it. So I'm kind of wondering if something might have been on there, but law
Yeah.
enforcement didn't take it. They never took it.
Yeah.
Now would be probably too late.
Yeah. And that's kind of like you're also looking at this, and we were talking about mirroring of the cases. I kind of feel like that's a mirroring of Sebastian's cases with electronics in the same kind of sense. They didn't take certain things from the Proudfoot's house that they should have, their phones or things
Right.
that they could have. But like also like they make a big point that Sebastian wasn't on the internet like that. Like he couldn't communicate with people, and even his phone. I'm wondering too, like, did they keep his phone from him that last few time, like that last time frame of what was going on, in the sense of like they knew he could possibly call somebody and reach out for help.
Because he didn't have his phone in the Texas Roadhouse
No, he
video.
didn't, and
Yeah.
you could tell he was look. He kept putting his like he would have had it normally.
Yeah.
So I feel like the reason that was done is because I had told you in the last one. I do feel like in that moment, like that day, he kind of knew things were off a little bit. Maybe leading up to that. I mean, anybody would know something's off
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
situation like that. But I think that they know he probably would have reached out to somebody, being whether
Right.
his dad or a different family member.
Right.
So and you just wonder if he would have had his phone, could things have happened differently too? So it's almost like CP keeps telling you, like, we wouldn't let him have his phone. We wouldn't let
Right.
him have this. We wouldn't let him have that.
Mhm.
And now
Mhm.
because a 15-year-old would have probably called their father and said, "Hey, mom's kind of acting weird. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, can you
Yeah.
come get me?" Or like, like it's just acting. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, like you're saying, I think that they purposely took the phone for that reason because they knew that he would do that.
Yeah.
So,
Probably. Yeah, because I feel like he was um he was learning how to advocate for himself. Like he was looking things up and he was trying to figure out, how do I go about telling on CP for what he does to me. You know what I mean? How do I go
yeah,
about getting protection? I feel like
yeah,
he was picking up on learning how to
right.
do that. Yeah.
Right, and that's why when you get the reading of him, like I was saying, like when I did the tarot reading for him and things like that, the very much thing that you got was the betrayal that his mom almost handed him to CP.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but like that was just kind of what I noticed in that. Like you said, it was a lot of the betrayal,
Yep.
was connected to CP, but also the mother kind of handing him over with that kind
Right.
of behavior. So,
Right.
there is Annie is here, and she did say Candace had a phone that she did not turn in. Uh, Mr. McDonough, I believe, or
Uh,
Donohue,
McDonough. Yeah, Chris
even
McDonough.
said something to her about turning it in, and she said she was going to do it on Monday. Do you
Oh,
know
very.
anything about that, or
I do remember now that Annie has said something. I do remember there was a phone, but I don't know that if she turned it in.
okay,
Yeah, I don't
okay?
know if she ever turned it in. I do remember hearing about the tablet also, because I remember
So did they not find the tablet, or or did they just say they didn't turn it in, or they didn't comment about if they found it or not?
the I think Don said they didn't take the tablet,
Oh,
or
okay,
they
he said that.
missed the tablet, or they didn't take it, or they missed it, or something. But they didn't. Law enforcement didn't pick it up with the other stuff.
Okay.
So I don't know if they had it hid and they missed it. He can mean a lot of things by missed. He could have hit it and law enforcement didn't find it, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Who
And
knows?
then Claudia Robinson is saying
Hi,
that she
Claudia.
didn't. So hello,
She
Claudia.
didn't.
Hello, everyone, as y'all come in and
She didn't.
welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all joining us and checking out their birth charts with us. So this is going to be the family dynamics, though, coming up, and the community dynamics surrounding Summer's case. So, do you mind reading this part really quick?
Sure. Yeah. Astrology. The family remains entangled in denial and blame. Astrologically, sorry. The
Mhm.
family remains entangled in denial and blame. There is a clear psychic turbulence, repeated patterns of lies, self preservation, and avoidance of the public eye. Her chart echoes a soul who still lingers close, restless, trying to be seen or acknowledged. Summer Spirit says, stays near places she loved, yard edges, wooded clearings, familiar nooks near home. Like her
Yeah, and,
swing.
and that and that points out to me how, like, remember when we were talking the last live too, how they jumped stories and they were
Yep,
saying how she was in the garden, and
yep,
but then they also had another story. So that kind of stood out to me because they almost kind of told you her favorite place. Like if
yep,
she had to be anywhere, it would be here.
yeah.
So just
It
being in
would
the
be on
yard.
that swing. It would definitely be on that swing. If she wanted to be anywhere, it would be on that swing.
Yeah, yeah. So number 6, though, to look for is going to be forecast for the investigation, kind of what to expect next. So small local tips might resurface in late summer 2025. A neighbor or relative might begin to talk more freely. Legal pressure could also reopen parts of the case. Community driven efforts, such as vigils, renewed search efforts, or events, will also keep her name alive. So, key timeline windows: late summer through fall of 2025, fresh statements or family slip ups. And
Hmm.
then early of 2026, larger scale review is possible, and think of new search areas or testing. Now, I saw like recently when I was doing this, it popped up recently, like maybe 5 months ago, right around the
Mhm.
time that you said that Summer went missing, a little bit before. Don Wells supposedly made a statement within the last few months. Did
Yeah, he made one recently that was near her because of her 4 year.
right?
He did an interview and it was kind of creepy.
Yeah, I caught a little snippet of it where he said that he used to have 4 children and now there was nobody.
Yeah.
So I didn't look kind of more into that after that, the interview, because it was short, the interview that I had seen just the clip of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see the full interview, but that's kind of where they pointed out him saying that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting too, that he recently kind of came out about that. And he looked kind of different to me.
He looks like he's gained some weight.
Yeah, he did look like he gained weight. I was wondering if you noticed that too. So he looked almost like he was probably clean a little for
He looked
him.
like he looked like he gained some weight, and he also said Candace didn't want to be in the interview, which is not unusual because she didn't want to be in the others either.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I kind of wondered that too. I didn't see the part where he said that, but I got the feeling maybe she didn't so much want to be in it. And so I was kind of wondering if, again, it's kind of like a Katie Proudfoot situation. Like they're not very good at speaking. And
Yeah.
I feel like both of them kind of heavily rely on some type of like substance to get them through that interview
Oh,
or that
yeah,
speaking
she
or
would.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I'm
the
wondering if
faces
that's
she
what it
makes,
was.
the faces she makes when he makes comments and stuff, she can't. I mean, she doesn't have a poker face, so if he says something she don't like or don't agree, I mean, she really makes a face, and you really kind of know it. You can kind of read her face, like when he's lying or making stuff up, because Candace is like looking at him like, "Well, you idiot,
Yeah.
why did you
Yeah.
say
Or like she doesn't know what he's talking about.
right?" Like she's
Like, I
confused.
don't remember that happening.
Right? Like, wait, what are you talking about? So I think that's a lot of some of the reason too why.
Yeah, it's like, what are we talking about again?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's like Katie. She gets into her storytelling, and it's almost like she forgets halfway through. She's talking about her missing child. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like she
Yeah.
gets all into it and starts joking and laughing, and it's like, you do
Yeah.
realize this is your interview for your missing child, right, lady?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
you
then
might want
Chris
to take
has
your
to call.
take that like enthusiasm down a notch.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Chris has to call for something to bring her back to reality. Her
That's
just
funny.
saying.
It's a cough to bring her back to reality. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. So the spiritual message that Summer, you kind of want to look for with Summer is Summer's soul feels gentle but very determined. She
Yeah.
wants her name spoken softly and her story told with respect, and for truth to matter more than the blame game. So this is, I put Sebastian, this is similar to him in that way. It's not so much of a blame game. It's just, be
Yeah.
sweet and figure it out kind of thing. So,
Right.
yeah, it's be sweet and figure it out. So, I mean, it shows you how sweet they are,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but she often shows herself through animal signs. So, small birds, butterflies, and random sparkles of light at dusk.
I can see that because she loved animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it seems like, she liked being outdoors and things like that
Oh,
too.
yeah. She loved being outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah. So your key takeaways for that is keep her name alive, shared verified facts, light candles or dedicate flowers near the woods or gardens. It helps to lift her energy and it also helps truth find its way to light. Expanded insight. Summer Wells' disappearance. So this is kind of where I go a little expanded into hers. So the natal chart factors pointing to vulnerability from her birthday, which is February 4th, 2016. That's correct, right?
Yep. That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So with her sun in Aquarius and Mercury in Capricorn, Summer is an innocent and trusting child, but she is also outspoken. She likely asked more mature questions or repeated adult things that she had heard. So this suggests she is deeply perceptive for her age. She knew when adults hid things, but she may not have understood the meanings of what she sensed. Heavy Neptune energy, secrecy and confusion around caretakers and unclear boundaries.
Yes.
Her environment felt unstable with shifting truths or neglect. This pattern shows she might have wandered within familiar property lines, but the true risk stemmed from people close to her, not so much strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Which didn't they say they thought someone took her pretty heavily in the beginning?
Well, that's what Don swears to this day is that she was abducted. He
Okay.
thinks somebody came up on the top of that mountain and hill or whatever you want to say and took her. He has said that.
Okay.
He thinks somebody come and took her. I'm like, well, he said she was put in a car and driven off the mountain. That is the one thing of truth he has said. She probably was put in a car and driven off that mountain. but not by
Right.
a stranger. Not by a
Right.
stranger. Mm-mm.
And do you mind, kind of just in case, like some of the people don't really so much know the 911 call and kind of what they stated possibly happened? Do you mind
Yeah.
kind of retelling that again really quick?
Well, when it was originally called, they said the 911 said, well, the mom went for a walk, and when she came back, she was missing. Well, Candace doesn't walk anywhere, and she has said, I don't walk anywhere or run anywhere. But that's how the 911 call went in, was that she had went walking and Summer was missing. And then it went to the other stories where they had just got through planting flowers, and Summer wanted to go to the toy room and play. So she walked her over there to the house and then went back over to help her mom with her knee brace. And she was only gone 2 minutes. And when she went back to check on Summer, she asked the boys where was Summer. And they're like, she's downstairs playing in the basement or in the toy room, which is really a dungeon. And she called for her and she never answered her. And that's when she went looking for her and she found she was missing. Um, then one of the stories was she was in the kitchen washing dishes and she could see Summer on her swing from the window. And then when she looked back out there, she was gone. So there's been
A few different ones.
there's been a few different ones, but I think the one that they stuck with was she went to help her mom with the knee brace, and Summer went inside to play with her toys and went down in the basement, and that's the last time they saw her. I
Okay.
think that's the one they're going with. Yeah.
And Don tried to like push so much that the boys were almost was supposed to be watching her. Did he not? For a
He was
while?
like, well, they said that he complained about when they would go outside in the yard.
Hmm.
He told the boys, you have to watch Summer because there's bears and stuff out here, so you have to make sure you watch Summer. And for me, that's a lot of responsibility for little boys when they're
Right.
out playing. They're not paying attention to
Yeah.
their little sister. But yeah, he says that somebody came up there and abducted her, which would, if you looked at their yard and the way everything's, it's like a horseshoe, and it would be hard to come up there and take somebody without somebody knowing. They had like 50, 11 dogs in the yard. They had like a bunch of dogs in the yard. So it
Right.
would be hard. Those dogs would bark because in one of
Yeah.
his interviews, he was talking with Cher. The dogs were barking, and he's like, "These dogs just bark at nothing." And I'm like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
wait a minute! You just said
Yeah.
that the
They did.
dogs would not bark at anybody. If they knew you, they would not bark at you." Okay, so guess what that means to me? That means that if somebody did come up there and take Summer and put her in their car and drive off with her, the dogs knew them also.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, that's kind of a like Annie also mentioned that she believes that the dog were tracked the scent down to the end of the driveway and it stopped
Right.
kind of at. Did you hear that also?
Yes, they said, Don said, at first he said the dog trail, that the
Oh,
dogs
okay.
picked up Summer scent going down the dog trail. Then they said, and it stopped. And then they said at the driveway, her her scent stopped at the bottom of the driveway. Well, one sense they'll tell you she don't go down the driveway by herself because they've told her not to. So
Mhm.
if they told her not to go down the driveway by herself, how would the
Yeah.
dogs pick up a scent
To the
of
end.
her?
So somebody
You know,
took her to the end of the driveway that she trusted.
right. So, and then they were saying the dog trail, but that dog trail it's tight. I mean, I don't see somebody coming up a dog trail and stealing a child. That
No.
Summer's very vocal. I would see her screaming and yelling, and but if she knew them, she wouldn't be scared to go somewhere with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, let's see, with Sebastian too, like in kind of the difference with Summer, I feel like he wouldn't have gone. And even if he would have knew somebody, he probably still wouldn't have gone,
Right.
So it
Yeah.
makes, and again, it's interesting. Again, you heard people around seem to have heard nothing
Right.
in both
Yeah.
of these cases, where both of these kids seem to be very vocal and would have done the opposite of that.
Yeah.
So, and this kind of goes into the disappearance day and any spiritual clues too, or also around Summer's disappearance here.
Yeah.
So, on June 15th of 2021. So
Yeah,
that's going to be.
Andy, I'm pretty sure it was the driveway, not the dog trail. But so much goes on in this case that they say one thing and then they change their mind and they say another.
Mhm.
With the interviews, because I went through all the interviews and I remember being there in real time when Cher did the interviews, but then I went through them all again to put them on my channel, and the story changes so much that you
Mhm.
just have to know that somewhere in between all of that is
The
the truth.
truth. Yeah, and usually it's in the middle.
Right.
It's usually it's back in the middle, kind of like with
Yeah.
the lights for also Sebastian's case. That's back in the middle almost when you're looking at
Yeah.
the time and things that happened.
Yeah.
And kind of like we talked in the last one. I do feel like that case was more of like a mercy unaliving,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And the only reason I bring that up is just because you have to kind of look at their behavior and what they're doing and how they're
Hmm.
kind of behaving after too.
Yeah.
So and then again, what happened leading up to it, she talked about this was planned for weeks. She talked about, I mean, all these phone calls at 3 a.m. Everything
Hmm.
with, the number three alone is an angel number, whatever number. But the point being is you're using that, in the middle of the night. They're talking about this time at 3 a.m. things happened. They're talking about him
Right.
being his happiest day ever. They're talking about
Hmm.
all these things that make it sound like even if he disappeared, he had the best time before
Yeah.
it
So that
happened.
makes it okay.
So that it makes it okay. And for me, it
Right.
was for
Yeah.
them, it was to make ensue their own guilty conscience of what they
Right.
did. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the whole point, I guess, of a mercy unaliving in that situation. I tried
Right.
to kind of bring that up in the last live, but I felt like I kind of wanted to say
Yeah.
that in a more cohesive kind of manner than I did in the
Yeah.
last one, because I felt like I didn't express it the way I wanted to in the last one. But I
Right.
feel like if
Yeah.
you look at the way they're explaining it to you, look at the things that
Hmm.
she cooked them breakfast that morning, the 3 a.m. thing, like all these, it being on a Sunday, all
Yeah.
these things. And then the cross on her arm.
Yeah. That bothers me more than probably
They're relating what they did to
yeah.
God.
Hmm.
And that makes it even more sick. That's what I'm saying, like really more sick. It's
Yeah.
twisted. Like I said, to me, those are people who should not be. I mean, all these people shouldn't be out on the streets. But when you do some kind of mercy thing, and then
Mhm.
you're justifying that, it really makes you wonder, where is their mental frame,
Right.
and
Yeah.
what have they done? What have they done that they're trying to hide? That's another big thing. What have you done? That's
And
my
you
question.
definitely don't want to give them the opportunity to do it again.
Exactly, because if they've gotten away with it, they will do it again.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like you say, what have you done? But he's telling you what they've done. And
Hmm.
now that they've gotten away so far in their minds, a year later, they almost even joke about some of these things. Like you said, is hygiene, or the whole pull-up thing, which I think is just disgusting. Because even when I talk about Sebastian, I can't even bring myself to say pull up for him. I feel
Yeah.
like it's disrespectful in the fact that they say it so free and like willingly, like it makes me just cringe.
And I
It's
was just so shocked by that. When I heard that, I was like, what? When it first came out, and
mhm,
that came out that that he made him wear them, I'm like, you have to be kidding me. This is not even.
mm-mm.
Yeah, I was just.
And the thing with even wearing them, like I said in a different live too, previously, like I just feel like it was because of the way they were treating him, that
Right.
some of the issues that maybe he possibly was having,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and I mean, again, if you try to put yourself in his place, like you said, can you imagine having a step parent yell at you every time you went in the fridge?
Right.
Can you imagine just playing a game and being yelled at constantly for being too loud or too in your face, or just like trying to joke with somebody and that being twisted into something else?
Yeah. It was
So,
never. You done nothing you done was ever right.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just heartbreaking to know these children. Nothing they did was ever right. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
being a kid is what got them where they are right now, it seems like. And that just breaks your heart. But,
Yeah.
um, Did I read this part yet? I don't remember. I'm sorry.
No.
We start chatting. Okay.
Mm-mm.
So, disappearance day and spiritual clues. So, on June 15th of 2021, transiting Neptune squared her sun and Mercury. So, this caused an environment of confusion, lies, or distractions. Mars was active, a sudden impulse, possible argument, or someone acting recklessly. Saturn pressing her sun, a restrictive force, metaphorically a door closing, literally or energetically.
Hmm.
So that kind of also reminds me of like you're saying, whether she went into the yard and whether she got into something before she went into the yard or later, or even if something happened. Because I still do wonder about this. Is it a watering hole or is it called something else that they were at?
Well, it's a pond, but it's on at the bottom where like above it is a bunch of horse stalls and an area for horses. So because the horses go down there and stuff, it's known to have horse poop in it
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. It's really dirty water.
So you
But
don't
they
think they were
call
even swimming in it then?
it, huh?
Do you think they were even actually swimming in it then?
I had heard that they did swim in it.
You know, but you were going to be like, no, absolutely not.
I heard that they did swim in it, but
uh, and then Annie also says, say, bedwetting as a child gets older is also, a sign of a medical condition or abuse,
yeah,
which we know now that he possibly did have a medical condition, when they diagnosed him with autism, which would make you a little bit more on edge with anxiety or
yeah,
depression or any of those things. And then if you have somebody down your throat constantly, jumping on
hmm,
everything that you do,
yeah,
trying to purposely embarrass you, then yeah, that stuff would probably be more prevalent, I feel like, with a child, at that age, because again, he was 15. So it just kind of makes you wonder, how was it happening before a certain time frame? They never really talk about that
right,
too. But
right,
again, I just don't like you said, I don't like the way they talk about it. It's
mm-mm,
almost like it's just I mean, it's disrespectful.
yeah,
It disappeared or not, whether the child has disappeared or not. But so for Summer, though, physically her aura shows no strong sign of elaborate stranger plot. It
hmm,
feels like a small accident or mishap during an unsupervised time that was then covered up due to fear or intoxication. So
hmm,
possibly an older person present, an adult or older teen who knew her routine well at the time of her disappearance or the accident.
hmm.
Let me see real quick too about that. I feel like I was going to make a comment on that, but I don't. Do you think that, remember about the text message with Summer that was supposedly to a possible, drug, I don't know how to say that, substance distributor? And they said that in the text message, she said done or something like that.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Do you think that could have been related to the fact that they just didn't know what to do either? So they called the next best person who they thought would have known what to do?
Um, it could be
I mean,
because
just
I think
out of curiosity, I guess.
the person that they would have called, and I have a good idea, in my opinion, who that is.
Right.
He is very known in that area. He knows the area very well. So he would be able to remove Summer and put her where nobody would know where she's at, even
Mm-hmm.
her parents.
Yeah.
So if they say, I don't know where she's at, they I kind of feel like they really don't.
Yeah. So you get
Because
that feel with them, like you kind of get when Katie says that she doesn't know where Sebastian is.
yeah,
Because I've never really watched too many of their interviews, and I don't know if it's because every time I watch it, like usually Candace is talking, and you don't really get much out of that.
right.
So I kind of like don't mean to tune out, but I do, because again, like if people just ain't making no sense at all, I kind of just tune out. So I don't know
Yeah.
if that's what it was with her, but with the same thing with Katie, though, it's kind of the same thing, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with this part two coming next, who feels involved in the Summer Wells case? And this is the astrological impression, basically. So likely direct involvement, a parent or guardian figure. Her chart shows a pattern of poor supervision plus elusive tendencies. So possibly another older household member, and again, that stands out as a grandma, or a
Uh-huh.
neighbor close to the family circle.
Uh-huh.
That stands out to the person who's always online when she's heavily under the influence for some reason talking. That's who jumped out
Mm.
in my head. I wish
JSB.
I don't. What was her name?
JSB.
Yeah, that one. So I don't know why that's who popped into my head when I saw that.
Uh-huh.
So
Mm-hmm.
someone
Mm-hmm.
felt familiar to her, kind of like you're saying, or
Yep.
not so much an outsider that she would have walked off with. So I have
Right.
again with kind of like Sebastian's, Candace's mother is the catalyst for this, where I feel like Sebastian's mother was the catalyst to make this happen. That they kind of handed over the children.
Mm-hmm.
Um, astrologically, the household shows conflicting stories, emotional coldness, and follow up to the incident. A habit of deflecting blame from self and deflecting suspicion elsewhere. Again, kind of like the same thing again with Sebastian's kind of story. I feel like they very much kind of didn't have too much emotion after, other than just worrying if people were going to believe them. So I kind
Mm-hmm.
of feel like they did the same thing. So other clues here you want to look for, possible sequence here is going to be Summer went off or was sent outside unsupervised. So that was one of your theories. And then
And you
she
know
either,
they say that they never let her go outside
oh yeah,
unsupervised because of the animals and stuff. But
I think they did. I
yeah,
don't really think, yeah, I don't think that would have mattered if some of the things that were going on, um, if they were doing some of the substances we think they were doing, do you really think that they paid attention to them in the yard all the time? Probably not. You know what I mean? That was probably their go-to of like, let them run in the yard, like they'll
yeah,
be fine, and we'll just
yeah,
like call them in when the sun goes down, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because that's what you get in a lot of them country towns too. And
yeah,
so someone said Wolfie. So do you know who Wolfie is? I don't know
yeah.
who Wolfie.
That's Running Gray Wolf. She comes.
Oh,
She's
that's the initials you gave, right?
yeah.
Okay,
But
okay.
she is the she's one of my mods that comes on my channels. Yep, she's good.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I know who you're
Yep.
talking about. So, and then I think Candace's interview with Candace stated when they got home with the groceries, Summer just popped right up. Huh. That always sounded strange because she
Yeah.
emphasized that so much.
Yeah.
So, what is Summer
Because
supposed to be with her?
well, I think what and this is part Annie's talking about. I think is when she was asleep on the milk.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about, Annie? Because there's a picture of her asleep on the milk, and then people were asking Candace, was Summer asleep on the milk? Why was she sleeping on the milk? And Candace is like, well, when we got home, she popped right up. Um,
Huh.
and
Yeah,
I'm
that is
guessing
weird.
she's trying to tell people when they got home to put the milk up that she popped right up. You know, she woke up. I think that's what Annie's talking about.
Okay.
But it
Okay.
is strange how she
Did say
says
that. Yeah.
yeah, say it
I
like
mean,
that.
because the milk carton picture is kind of odd. I mean, most
It
kids
is.
aren't. I mean, who would sleep on a cold milk carton? I mean, it is. I mean, I wouldn't do that as an adult. I don't even with it being in Texas. I don't think it's
Yeah.
ever that thought that I would lay my face on a
No.
cold milk carton.
And it's so
So,
ironic to me because, I just did a missing video on Johnny Gosh, and I didn't know it till after the video. And this has really nothing to do with Summer Sebastian, but it has something to do with milk. Um,
mhm.
I didn't know it till after his video. I had done his video, but he was the first missing
Excuse me.
child that started the milk carton
Oh,
campaign. The one, that's how milk carton kids got put on milk cartons.
right.
And
Yeah, I
but just
know. They
that's
still should
just
do
my
that.
brain working on. She's laying on a milk carton and then she goes missing, and there used to be the milk carton campaign.
Yeah.
So,
Probably
but
has to
that's
show the stepdad who's like that. So I wonder if he sleeps on a milk carton. Does he sleep on a milk carton?
right.
And here she is. Here's Wolfie.
Oh, hi, Wolfie.
Hello.
Sweet love. Hello.
Yes, you're
Aren't you
welcome. Thank you
cute?
for joining us.
Yeah, thank
Oh,
you
sorry,
for volume
Go
too.
there with Daddy. Go, Dad. Sorry, Connor's playing Geometry Dash.
Oh,
I made a song for him on Geometry Dash, so he's like loving it.
oh.
So playing it like a music video. It makes me feel great.
Well, good because he's had such a little rough time. He deserves that.
Yes, he has. So
Yeah,
yeah, I was actually like I know most people have been working on the videos and stuff, but I was recently in the hospital with Connor. So
yeah,
that's kind of, he's been having some health issues recently, but we figured him out. So he's doing
yeah,
better and he's
yeah.
doing great. So he's very happy. That's why he's so excited right
Well,
now.
he deserves to be happy and running around.
Yes, he does. So, yes. And then let me go ahead. I'm going to scroll back up a little bit to
Okay.
kind of go ahead and then just start from the beginning because I know I keep talking randomly about different stuff. So, my apologies, y'all. I
That's
get off
okay. We
track.
always have squirrels in my videos.
Exactly. Squirrels, shiny
Yeah.
things.
Hmm.
There's the
Yeah.
best things actually. And then I forget stuff real easily. So, I'm like, I need to say it
Yeah.
before I forget. So,
That's why we have like 4 hour lives sometimes because there's squirrels rampant
yeah.
in the
I mean, some of the
videos.
squirrels are the best though. They bring up the
Yeah.
information you forget
That's
about.
right. That's right. You discuss and talk. That's what I like.
Yeah, I mean that's what these are about. Everybody putting their information together and trying to make sense of it because
Right.
the CPs and the wells ain't making any sense. So anything that can make sense of that for me is good.
Right.
But the number 4 clue you want to look for here, and there's going to be a couple different points that are possible sequences. So Summer went off or was sent outside unsupervised. She either wandered off somewhere off limits or was playing near a structure, a vehicle, water hole type thing where an accident happened. There may have been an accident, fall, injury, or unintended harm that led to it. An adult found her panicked due to fear or legal consequences, substance abuse, or prior neglect reports, which there were.
Hmm. Yep.
So, current vibes and what may unravel soon. Her chart now shows the cover up energy is extremely strong. More than one person knows more than they've said. So
Hmm.
Pluto and Saturn slowly dissolve lies, and Mercury nodes reactivating. So that means a child's statement or accidental family slip up could break open part of the truth. So I kind of still almost feel pulled towards, and I don't want to put like this on the boys. I don't know how old they are now,
Right.
um, but I feel like as kids get older too, if they start to notice things. So I'm just curious if
Right.
that has anything to do with, or maybe even cousins or something like that. But I do wonder about that.
Well,
Um,
it's kind of like, when you're in a bad situation, you don't notice things until you're
right,
out away
right,
from it, and then you look back and you're like, why didn't I see that?
yeah. And then they're kids too, So
Right.
there's almost this. I think it's not like a sense of like you owe, but it's like your brother or sister. You don't owe anything other than the truth. You know what I
Right.
mean? So they to me is that's who you're gonna hear it from more than
Yeah.
likely.
Hmm.
Um, Or again, like an aunt or somebody or an uncle or somebody who like sobers up or something. You know what I
Right.
mean? People,
Hmm.
kind of change their lifestyles and things come out. And that's what you kind of
Hmm.
hope again in both these cases. Like you're kind of hoping on both these sides, if it's not them,
Yeah.
meeting other individuals who open their mind and make them act right or talk right, it's hopefully
Right.
people around them,
And it's when
So
they feel safe doing it too. They may not feel
yeah.
safe enough to do that right now, but maybe at some point that
Right.
they may be
Right.
healed enough and
To do
encouraged
so.
enough and say, you know what, I'm going to go tell what I need to tell that I didn't see before because I was too hurt or upset or
Or scared.
yeah,
Especially with a lot of these kids, because it's like they want to help their brothers and sisters, but they're scared.
yeah.
What's going to happen to them if they
Hmm.
say something? You know what I mean? They already know what they're looking at and what these people are like. Yeah, hindsight.
Right.
Um, and so that's what
And for
Andy's saying.
them, it's part of their healing process. So I hope they're
Hmm.
able to do that.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
even watching Summers and stuff, I feel like every case we do, it almost like if you let yourself sit in it and actually learn a lesson from it, like you change.
right.
You know what I mean? Like I know I've changed in my
Hmm.
personal life since I've looked into Sebastian's case even deeper and even Summers. Like I've done Summers' case, but like re-looking into it and looking
Hmm.
at it deeper, it does change how I look at certain things. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you just kind of hope that the people who are listening kind of do the same. Not that people are listening, but people like related to it too. That
Right.
can actually do something about it.
Hmm.
And again, hindsight being 2020.
Yeah.
So but do you mind reading this part real quick? And this
No.
kind of
Yeah.
see just
Yeah.
current vibes and what may unravel soon.
Yeah. Her chart now shows the cover up energy is extremely strong. More than one person knows more than they've said. Yep. Pluto and Saturn slowly dissolve lies. Mercury nodes reactivating. A child's statement, accidental family slip, could break one part of the truth. It could open one part of the truth. Community pressure still matters. The case isn't truly closed in spirit or karma. Mm.
Right. So, what you want to look for? So, okay, Connie, it's boring. He's talking about something else, but it still fit the situation. So, legal shifts around late summer through early 2026 is what you want to be looking for next. So, someone possibly confiding in a new partner or a neighbor. So,
Mm.
local gossip could yield a real clue if police actually take it seriously. And
Yeah.
so, this
Yeah.
is all Tennessee. Can you please take it seriously? Because I
Well,
don't feel like they are.
I hope this is true. Well, I think this part is true, but there's supposed to be a new election for the sheriff's election is coming up in Summers County, and there's
Mm.
supposed to be
Isn't it
some.
supposed to be for Sebastian's too? I
I
think it's for both. I think
Is
it's
it
for
for
both.
both? Well, that
Mm-hmm.
would be good. I
Mm-hmm.
just hope it's true that somebody's actually going to run against Ronnie Lawson.
Yeah.
I
Well,
hope
I
that's
think they need to wipe out the boards here now. Like, I don't know if that's the correct way to say it, but like,
right. Yeah.
start over. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
think that's the best thing to do in this case, in
Yeah.
both cases, is because you haven't gotten anything from any of these people on both
No.
sides for all
New
this
line.
time. So, what
Yeah.
is their goal? What is their focus? What's their agenda? What's their
Right.
motives? You know what I
Right.
mean? Because it ain't finding the children, kind of like Seth was saying. It's not finding the children. So what
No.
is it? If you
Something's
don't care
broke.
about children who are innocent, who did absolutely nothing, what do you care about?
Right. Yeah.
So
Because it's
that's
not
the part.
working. It's broke. The system is broke. So from
Yeah.
CPS to law enforcement in that area, it needs to be fixed. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
trying to go against the blue because I support the blue very much. But when it's just these cases, Summers is 4 years old and Sebastian's is over a year old, and we are no closer than we were when they went missing.
And in both cases, you see the people, like you're saying, like who were in charge of them, who should have been able to say, this is where they were last, they were safe, they were whatever. They're all dodging. They're all
Right.
dodging. They're not telling the truth. I mean, and you can tell they're not telling the truth just because you line up all their interviews. You can
Right.
line up all their, and to see their behaviors and their past. And I'm not downing anybody's past in the sense of like you can't have a sketchy past in some sense and try to do the best you can to move forward. I think
Right.
that some people have rough starts and rough whatever, and you do the best you can. Hopefully you push through that and you do the right thing.
Right.
But for the most part, you're not seeing that with these individuals because there's no remorse. Like I said with the CP, it's boasting. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like, look at
Yeah.
all these horrible things I've done across all these states and all these CPS reports, and ain't nobody
Yeah.
pinned me yet. What are you gonna do? You know what
What
I
do you
mean? And
say?
it's like, you know what? Like again, public opinion is the worst. Ask Casey Anthony, in my opinion.
Yeah.
How much is she loved? I mean, she had to go on TikTok and like throw her whole lifestyle to the wind, act like she's somebody else, and then try to advocate for like victims. Where were you when your daughter was missing for 30 days?
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
wouldn't want her advocating for nothing.
No, and that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of like they fall into that category, whether they've actually been arrested and convicted or it doesn't matter to me. They're in that category just because of their behavior a bit,
Right.
in my
Right.
opinion. So let's see. So they're
Yeah.
talking about the
Annie,
sheriffs. The
I know
sheriffs are
that's
really
sad.
paying things. Yeah. And then
I'm hoping, Annie, that's true, but you know how rumors are. Um,
yeah. I mean, you want to hope that people will move eventually at some point.
yeah. Yeah. Right. I
Yeah, and
agree.
you're always going to have dirty something and something, to be
Yeah.
honest. I mean,
That's just the way
and
it
these
is.
are small, again, good old boy towns. So that's why I kind of brought up too, these people knew who these children were.
Yeah.
They probably knew what was going on, and that makes you even more get them out of office, in my opinion, because they knew
Yeah.
what was happening.
Yeah. Well, his son was um, arrested for SA,
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie Lawson. So, I mean,
Say what now? Say that again?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, say that again.
yeah. Ronnie Lawson's son, the sheriff's son.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, I didn't know that. So yeah, that's the
Mhm.
step that again you need to probably remove them because it's probably not the best person in office then.
Yeah,
So
that's what
so
I'm saying.
this
I don't even know why he's still there.
again,
If you,
it relates to them good old boy towns to me. I'm sorry, I do. I think that has a
yeah,
lot to do with it. It's his
yeah.
tiny little towns.
And Sebastian and Summer don't live that far apart.
No, what'd you say, like 50 miles or
I think
something?
it's either 50 miles or 50 minutes. I'd have to look it up again, but it's not very. Either way, that's not very far.
No. And like Wolfie's saying here, sausage, sausage and good old boys network, or and they are. But and that's what
Mhm.
I say. Like I live in a small country town, so we're extended in the sense that like you can't really get away with everything. But if you know somebody, you will.
Right.
Like you
Yeah.
know what I mean? They'll be like, oh well, his grandpa, their grandpa is this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
You know what I
You know
mean?
how
So
much he did in this community or how much he gave
I
or
mean, we have
whatever.
statues.
Yeah.
We have statues of these
Yeah.
people, and it's like, what did they do again?
Right.
Like,
Right.
like I'm sorry, what did they do?
What did
You
they
know,
do?
but it's like nothing, nothing.
Yeah. Does it
They
help
just
me
have the
today?
last name.
No.
So let's see, the apples don't fall far from the tree. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we'll get
There it
to
is.
the
Brandon
spiritual
Lawson
message.
who spent 1 day less than a year in county jail. And yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So you have to review people like that. So
Sad.
let's see though the legal shifts again. We'll do this last kind of spirit. I think we're kind of we're getting to the end of Summer's document here. So the number 6 spiritual message for Summer is Summer's spirit feels like a shy flicker. She wants gentleness and not a spectacle, much like Sebastian doesn't want a spectacle either. So she likes flowers, children's laughter, and the sound of rain.
Yeah.
She asks for her name to be spoken kindly, but not sensationalized. She especially likes wildflowers or little pinwheels left in breezy places. So I put this of her and her brothers because I thought that was a good one to add in there for
Yes.
her. And then this is the end of it for her. So this will be what to expect next. The chart shows possible family involvement consistent with many suspicions. So no evidence of a calculated kidnapping by a stranger,
Yeah.
likely an avoidable accident, plus panic, plus cover up.
Mm-hmm.
So more talk in local circles may reach law enforcement, and true
Mm-hmm.
justice is slow, but her soul is patient. She wants peace, not vengeance. So that's where I relate these two. So obviously, call TBI if you think they can help, but if not, call the FBI. I think they'll help
Right.
more. I'll throw that in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would call FBI.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
drop the whole TBI. Just call the FBI. Don't worry about
Right.
TBI.
Yeah. Just
So
skip right over TBI and the sheriff's
So I
office.
did not watch the Karen Reed case. So I am guessing Karen Reed was found not guilty,
She
correct?
was.
She
Yes.
was.
Thank goodness. Yep.
Yeah. So what
Man.
actually was the big like what was the like kind of thing about her case that you think maybe caused the most uproar in the same situation with the
Um. Well, alcohol's involved. Possibly
for the person who passed or for like all the parties involved?
all the parties that. So this is like more than one person did this.
Hmm.
It was cops' house. They were all cops. So this is this is a cover up, cop cover up thing.
Hmm.
Cops protecting each other. He was kind of a outsider with them because he was. When I did the reading, I kind of felt like he was gonna maybe out some of them because they didn't like him because he kind of did the right thing and they didn't do the right thing and they didn't like that and he knew a lot of stuff about them that could probably hurt them. And
Yeah.
why he went to this party, I'll never figure it out because he didn't fit in with these people. He was
So
a
do you
cop.
think somebody invited him there?
I think he was invited on a false pretense of let's,
Who do you think that was? Do you think it was like more than one person that kind of put that invite together?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Because it was a cop's house that she dropped him off at. And she left and went back to, I don't know if it was home or I think it was his house she went back to. And then she went back to get him because he wasn't answering his phone. So she went back to get him and she found him outside laying down in the snow. So
Yeah, I didn't get to look into it as much as I wanted to. Like, I know when you told me about it, like, I think I was looking at a couple different things, but I did find it interesting, like the interviews and stuff they did of her.
yeah.
So when she would giggle and laugh a lot. So I was kind of confused, like what was going on.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. And so they kept like replaying that to like, there was another channel, I think it's Crime Catalyst. And she did a bunch of small kind of clips on that video, on her case.
Yeah.
She was saying the same thing, how she didn't think she was guilty and how it was super controversial, but this was why, But
I mean, it was blatant. They blatantly were sabotaging.
I think I'm going to try to find her verdict real quick. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back because I want to see if I can find her verdict.
So her verdict's like 4 or 5 not guilty, 4 or 5 not guilties and 1 guilty.
Okay.
So she's got like manslaughter not guilty, second degree murder not guilty. I forget what the other one is, and then one she was found guilty on was drinking and driving, basically.
So did she have like a first trial?
She did, and that it was, it wasn't a mistrial. It was I don't know. Maybe different states call them different things, but they had to redo it. So it was a hung verdict, maybe, and they had to redo it. So this is the second trial.
So like with Barry Morphew, though, and this is like jumping. Barry Morphew didn't have a trial.
No, but
they recently just kind of recharged him because they let it go. I think they knew they had found more during it, and that's why they let him go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I dropped mine. Can you hear me?
Yeah. They're gonna nail him now.
Okay, I dropped my like earpiece. My bad.
Oh no.
But yeah, I was noticing that with the Barry Morphew. And I'm sorry I jumped from one to the next, but it kind of reminds me of that in the sense of like the dismissal or the kind of pushing the trial to a different one.
Yeah. So, he'll get it. He'll get it this time. He's gonna be.
Oh yeah, they're gonna stick him this time. I don't see how you couldn't.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, like how could you not try to? I mean, he's so arrogant.
And he changed his name. I didn't even know he had changed his name.
What did he change it to?
Lee something.
No way.
Look,
it's funny because right now the interview room is on about Barry Morphew.
Yeah.
I don't usually watch them though.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, they might be good. Are they good? I have no clue.
Yeah, if you like Chris Madonna, he's not bad. I don't dislike him. I just don't have time to watch him because I'm using something else. But yeah.
I talk pretty fast and move pretty fast. So I know most channels don't usually.
Yeah. Well, I really liked him for being the one person that got in Summer's home, because that is the only interview that shows the inside of Summer's home. They are the only people that he is the only person they let in with a camera to actually film their house and show it.
Right.
There's been other YouTubers there, but nobody ever filmed it and put it out. Chris Madonna was the only one. And I'm so glad he did, because that helped us kind of see the dynamics of how she lived.
Yeah, because you didn't get to see that much. Like you said, there wasn't much documentation. And even the videos, I don't even think there's videos. Is there videos of Summer, really?
There's a few, like there's one of her dancing in the rain. And then there's quite a few at the church, of videos of her in the church. But there's not too many of Summer. No, not videos.
Yeah, I'm trying to be able to pull up like you said, my stuff is just glitching so bad. I had unplugged like the internet earlier, and I think I didn't plug it back in right. So I was trying to pull up some of those, like the Karen Reed thing and stuff like that, but I can't so much pull it up now.
You think
But
Higgins
yeah, I thought that was
the snow plowed
oh, sorry.
way? That could have. There's a mark on the back of his head, they said was some type of blow. But the problem is they won't do a complete investigation to see what kind of injuries was made from what. You know what I mean? They're not going to
Right.
investigate that fully and see what, like you see on TV, they're like, well, we need to find out what the murder weapon is. We need,
Yeah.
but I don't believe they will ever do that. And I don't believe anyone will ever pay for that, which is sad because his family will never get closure on what happened to
Like
him.
a true answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks when that happens, because
Yeah.
you do will wish that they would do that just like in
Yeah.
any other simple case, you know.
Oh, Linda's on
And
there.
then
Is the
Linda.
crime is on there with Chris, where she really followed. She really did a lot. Linda, it's a crime, did a lot well on Barry Morphew. So, and I'm a member on her channel. I just haven't been on there in a while, but yeah, she's
I
really
feel
good.
like I've watched It's a Crime before for
She's
different
a good
stuff.
creator. She's a really good creator. She's had a
Yeah.
rough couple of years, but she's a real good creator. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, yes, I have been told that before. I don't see it, but I have been told that. So thank you so much. I think that's very flattering. I don't see it, but I have been told that like my whole life. When I first was told that, they were like I think it was from like Brothers or one of them Step Brothers or one of the movies with Will Ferrell. And I was like, I didn't know who it was at first. And then I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of see it.
You're like, I got to look that up. Who is that?
Yeah. I was like, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've actually been told that a bunch. So
Oh,
and then I was raised in a small town. A lot of people knew we were being abused. It took 3 calls. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the sad part with these cases. Again, like Sebastian, I think everybody knew him. I think everybody knew what was going on. Same thing with Summer, but for whatever reason, it was like to hide the adults' bad behavior more than it was just to save the children,
well,
and it
that
should always
whole
be
hill up
that.
there is rugs and things they're not supposed to be doing. So
Yeah.
they're protecting each other up there. They don't want people investigating up there. They don't want people searching up there because they're all involved in that together.
Yeah. I think the most common person though, and thank you, Wolfie, too. I appreciate it. But I want to say I think the most common person would think that if something like that happens, like you would kind of hope that no matter how rotten you are to the core as a person, that would be enough to snap you out of it and be like,
Yeah,
I
you
didn't do
would
the
think.
right thing here. Yeah,
Yeah,
you would think. And that's what I
yeah,
think kind of disappoints, and people have a hard time believing that people are hiding things for
right.
other people. But it's like when you're like that, like you will hide anything. I feel like, I mean, I feel like you
Mhm.
will do anything to save yourself,
Yeah,
possibly. So
and
I
there,
think that's kind of where it gets confusing for the outsider in some of those situations, that they're not used to seeing that or being
yeah.
around people like that.
And with Summer, I meant to tell you too. In her chart, it tells you that there's a teenager around her. Well,
Mhm.
there was a teenager around her.
Yeah, wasn't it a boy?
Yes. Now he's grown now,
So that could be
obviously.
somebody else too.
So Hunter was the
Mhm.
teenager that was around her.
What was his place though, completely? And I remember him being a neighbor, I
He's
thought.
just a neighbor. That's
And
it.
that was it.
Hmm.
And so
But
did you think that he was really with them, or do you think that he was using them? Or they
well,
were using him, I'm sorry, that they were using him to almost kind of fit a story.
well, he did hang out with them. He was like somebody that would go over there and hang out with them because his mom and Candace were friends at one time, and then they got mad at each other over something. I don't know what it was, but he said he wasn't with them that day, and then Candace said that he was for a little while. So
Yeah.
who really knows if he was with them or not?
I
Um,
remember her saying that he was with them. I remember her
yeah,
making it. I thought the boy even did an interview. I don't know if he did or not, but I remember seeing, I thought, a picture of him or a video or something of him. Is that wrong, or was that a different kid?
he did an interview, I think, with his dad or his mom, but his mom has since passed.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, but I don't think he did. anything to Summer.
No, I don't think he did either. Yeah.
I think he might know
I
something.
think they used him as a sense to like speak for
Yeah,
them.
right.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
an alibi. There you go.
yeah,
Sorry, I couldn't think.
yeah,
I couldn't say. Kind of like the Proudfoots did again. So you're kind of looking the same thing in Tennessee. They used each
yeah,
other as an alibi.
yeah,
So they set this whole story up. It was like, well, I'm going to pretend I'm talking to you, and you pretend you're talking to me, and we'll just leave the phones on, and we'll just do all this crap, this sneaky
yeah,
shit in the meantime.
yeah,
But Annie also said if Don got charged with child abuse for Summer, that would be his third felony. See, I didn't know that. 3
yeah.
strikes, you're out. I think that, and I remember I mentioned to you that because Summer was under 9, that's a felony too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
2 felonies
Yep.
that he'd have been charged with, not
Yep.
just one.
Right.
So even though it would have been his third charge, he would have got numerous charges of a felony for that. So
Right.
so yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Annie, for bringing that up
Yeah.
because I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
Hunter's mom and Summer's mom were best friends.
Yeah.
So
It
that's
went,
kind of
and then they had a falling out, but I cannot remember
twisted tea.
what it was about. And Hunter gave a timeline of what they did, and then Candace like, well, that's not right. I don't know why Hunter would say that. I don't know why he would say that's what we did when we didn't do that. So there was that, and then there was this thing. Well, Candace would buy him twisted teas, and she flirted with him, and they had a thing. And
I heard that too in the beginning.
I don't know if that was true or not. I mean,
yeah,
but I mean, he hung around him a lot, and that's odd for a teenager to hang around with somebody her age and somebody even older. And
well, unless they're getting alcohol or
right,
access to
unless,
something that you can't get on your own.
yeah. So there was some reason why he was hanging out. I mean, it
Yeah,
was,
and it's
yeah,
probably the twisted teas,
yeah,
things like that.
yeah,
Like you're like
yeah,
Wolfie and you were saying, more than likely it's those things. Where he was
yeah,
kind of getting access to alcohol or even
yeah,
possibly something else. Like
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And
So,
the boys were getting ready to be taken too, right when Summer went missing. Also, the
right.
CPS was supposed to come get the boys. I don't know if it was that day or the next day, because CPS had already been to see them about the boys. So my thing was, well, why was you leaving Summer there? And I'm guessing because maybe the CPS reports were just called in on the boys and not
Yeah.
Summer, so they couldn't investigate Summer without a call being put in about her. And so I feel like, she's fixing to start school, and Summer talked. She loved to talk.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and her head was shaved, slick. I mean, people are going to ask questions. They're just going to ask.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I
So
mean,
I'm gonna try to pull this interview. Tell me if you can see it well, because my internet is glitching so horribly. I'm gonna pull it up though. This is Dawn.
okay.
So I want to see if you can see it. This is the
Yeah.
most recent one I was talking
Yep.
about. It's only 3 minutes.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to like make it like bigger screen and all that before I have it fully play, and then let me know if you can see it.
This weekend marks 4 years since a Hawkins County girl was last seen. 5-year-old Summer Wells was reported missing from her home on Ben Hill Road in the Beach Creek community on June 15th, 2021. On your left, the photo shared by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation when the Amber Alert was issued. On your right, an age-progressed photo released 2 years ago of what she may look like. News Channel 11's Angela Daniel spoke with Summer's father, Don Wells, as the 4-year mark of his daughter's disappearance approaches.
Nearly 4 years ago, 5-year-old Summer Wells disappeared from her home here in Hawkins County. It's believed that she walked out of this door and hasn't been seen since. And today, there are still no answers as to where she could be.
It's 4 years too long. My thoughts and feelings haven't changed. I mean, it's been heartbreak, continual heartbreak for the past 4 years.
This very yard is one of the last places Dawn Wells' daughter Summer was known to be.
We love and miss her very much and wish that she could come home very much, because she was kind of the bossy boss around here, and we just miss our children, man. We had 4 children running around here like like crazy.
The then 5-year-old has been at the center of an Amber Alert since June 15th of 2021. Crews searched the Beach Creek community for weeks, with law enforcement receiving numerous tips that never panned out.
We haven't talked to them in a long time. We let Chris and Trudy, our private detectives, deal with TBI in Hawkins County because, I don't know, anyway, it's just better that they do that.
These faded signs all throughout the Beach Creek community are a sign of hope that Summer Wells could still come home nearly 4 years after she disappeared from her home on Ben Hill Road.
It's very bad, and and then when you add the social media pressure, of them saying that we're suspects or whatever, that just adds to it, and it's kind of living a nightmare.
Summer's mother, Candace, has only spoken to us on camera once. She declined to be a part of this interview minutes before we started recording.
She wanted to, but all them fears started creeping up, of what happened, in the beginning with the social media and everything, hunting us down everywhere we go and trying to basically ruin us everywhere we go. And she's just having nightmares.
After Summer's disappearance, the Wells' 3 oldest boys were put into Department of Children's Services custody, with Dawn and Candace eventually citing their rights over.
We haven't received any updates from them, no contact. And in fact, they deleted the phone number or blocked my phone as soon as we got done with that case and signed our children over.
And still today, one word describes their entire situation.
It's heartbreaking.
In Hawkins County, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation declined to comment about the ongoing search for Summer Wells.
So you see what he said?
Sorry, can you hear it? Is it back to normal now?
You hear what he said, that we had 4 kids running around here like wild crazy?
Yeah.
Well, that's so odd.
What did she say? She was the bossy boss?
Yeah.
No, that's
He's
weird too. And again, it's you can say it's like a harmless statement, but it's a weird statement. She's the bossy boss.
He's always said that. He's always like, she bossed the boys around all the time. He always said that. I don't know why he said that, but he always says she's the boss. She bossed the boys around.
Yeah, and see, like Annie kind of says here, I think Candace's fear comes from going to jail. I think Candace's fear, why she doesn't speak, comes exactly what Annie said, is coming from not wanting to go to jail. I think Katie Proudfoot's fear is like, oh my gosh, don't judge me. Yeah. And that's the total opposite in them. You know what I mean? Like, one is actually scared of being prosecuted, where the other ain't so scared of being prosecuted. They're more of being publicly persecuted, which you kind of already have been, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, at least I know in my book you're done. So, and I would think in most of everybody else's you're done too.
And I hate that age progression picture of Summer.
Yeah, they were saying it doesn't look much like her. I don't think it does either.
Doesn't.
Yeah. Let me see. She's not coming home alive. It will take a miracle to find her remains. Yeah. I think for a lot of these cases it will. And
yeah, they signed the boys over. Yep. You know why they did that? So they would drop charges. So they would drop the child abuse charges against them. That's why they signed them over.
One reason they voluntarily. Yeah. She belongs in jail. Yeah. They both, she definitely belongs in jail. They all belong in jail for what they've done.
And somebody was saying, oh no, now he can get Josie back. No, he can't get Josie back.
No, he can't.
He signed over the rights.
And do you think that those kids would even want to go back, even if they had a chance to?
No, they made the statement before they don't want to go back.
No, why would they?
Yeah, somebody put it on their channel. Does this mean he can get Josie back? No. If he signed his rights over, he cannot have them back.
Exactly. They signed over rights so they don't get charged, which is kind of like why I feel the Proudfoots felt that if Sebastian happened to disappear, they couldn't be charged, which again, this is why I think the laws are so important, that you cannot do something like that anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it should not matter if the child is around or not. Like whatever you've done, you should have to pay for.
Yeah, because you still done it.
You still did it.
Yeah.
If there was still an investigation to that point, you still did it. And with Sebastian's case, again, Seth should have been called the first time it happened. And told, regardless of whatever the PF said. It shouldn't have mattered. Like so, that's where the person got fired, because they should have. And somebody in the last live asked, I guess I didn't make it clear of who I thought was guilty as far as like what led to happening with Sebastian's case. I think the whole system failed Sebastian.
Oh yeah.
LE failed Sebastian because they knew the situations that were happening. Because when CPS gets reported, they alert LE.
Right.
So everybody knows what's going on. This is a small town for the most part, and just say they didn't know each other. It doesn't matter because once it was reported to CPS through the school system, anything else, it gets reported to the LE. So, okay, so say they knew them, they should have known. Say they didn't know them, they should have known. Right. So either way, they should have known. So automatically LE and CPS is guilty. So they need to be charged for whatever they let fall between the cracks, I feel like. And then as far as the step parent or, the stepdad and the mother, there's proof again of them having cases against them, and he brags about it being in other states.
Yep.
So if someone's bragging that they've gotten away with this in other states, what makes, it's kind of like Ted Bundy-ish to me. You know what I mean? Like he bragged about how he escaped in other states and went to other states and got away with it. So you're kind of letting CP do the same thing. I don't care the level of it. It's the same thing. Yeah. And that's why I said you don't want people like this out, because who knows what they will eventually do when they think they've gotten away with this.
And if the minute the CPS reports were given to the dad and the CPS worker was fired, that automatically says she did something wrong.
Yeah. And she did. For her to tell Sebastian, well, you're overreacting, that alone is wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That alone is wrong. And the fact that she didn't call his father, his biological father, is wrong. The fact that she didn't listen to the teachers is wrong.
And she told him he was going to be in trouble if he did it again.
No, and actually, whoever called them say it was being misreported should be the person that was wrong, but it obviously wasn't being misreported. So right. People have been wrong in this place is CP and KP. So again, he should have been immediately taken away from them. And again, why this didn't happen after 5 times over, I don't know.
Yeah.
And especially with a special needs child at some point, because you have to look at that. Like Peter Hyatt said it. Hyatt said, like this, especially with a step parent and kids having special needs, it's even more likely times 1,000 that the step parent or somebody involved that kind of came in and did something with this child, because they're going to be more impatient. And I think Katie just would do whatever it was to please Chris.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what it was.
That's one of the things I hope that Seth is trying to change is with the CPS laws, like if there is a CPS report and the parents are divorced or separated or whatever, he shouldn't have to go to a lawyer to get those reports.
No, it should be handed over.
Yeah, he should be able to. All he should have to show is his identification proving that he is that child's biological parent. And that's all he shouldn't have had to get lawyers.
No. And that's the sad part. He should have never had to do that in the first place. They should have came to him and said, hey, we got reports against your Sebastian, against your son's stepfather and the mother. Do you want to take him right now? Because if you don't, we're going to put him in this. Yes, I want to take him. Okay, great. Here you go. Here's your son. Y'all have a great life together. That's what should have happened. And it didn't. Yeah. And that's what just breaks your heart over and over and over. Because again, like I said in the past, with Sebastian, with Madeline McCann, with Summer Wells, with a lot of these people, I do think there was neglect and all these things that were present. But it was almost like the neglect led to something that happened. Yeah. And the difference with Sebastian is his was planned. And that's what just rips your heart out. It's like this could have been stopped over and over and over. Yeah. And all of them, it could have been stopped over and over. But Sebastian's 15 years old.
Yeah.
He heard everything. He completely comprehended everything.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like it makes you so fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say it for what it is. Like I said, I sit there at night and I'm just like, this is disgusting for what happened. I can't believe all these people within LE, CPS, whatever, just can sleep at night and all these in a year later have no problem like keeping that information to themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, because what are you saving them for? What are you saving the Proudfoots for? Nobody cares about them in the sense of what happens to them because everybody can feel gut-wise what they did. So what are you saving them for? Save yourself and throw them where they belong.
And there should be some, for me, there should be some accountability to the CPS worker who let it go and didn't do her job to find, because she shouldn't have took Chris's word as well. The father's not involved in his life. She shouldn't have took his word for that. She should have checked that out for herself.
They're never supposed to take the word for it.
No.
You are supposed to go in assuming they're lying about everything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You're supposed to go in assuming they are lying about everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that this lady didn't do it, again, it makes you think, yes, she did absolutely know him.
Yeah.
Or she was getting paid off in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, I do think Seth, and that's why I say again, the proof of life, the being able to charge them for neglect later, because they've all admitted, again, it's been admitted on lives by Chris Proudfoot that he did this and this and this and made him, when the teacher called him and told him Sebastian had an accident in his pull-up that he likes to brag about, that, like he made him sit in it. Okay, well, that's abuse and neglect. Okay, well, then you also made him stay at home by himself. Okay, well, if he was in a pull-up, again, for hours, that's abuse and neglect. Especially because he probably couldn't make the foods that he wanted and needed. Abuse and neglect.
Yeah.
So there's I could keep going. I could keep going forever. I got an autistic son, Sebastian's age, that just graduated, and I could go forever about the abuse and neglect in that situation because Sebastian was more high functioning. So I can literally pick that apart for every single thing they've done and said.
And I hope the school didn't let him sit in that.
I hope not either. That's another thing I wonder. Did they actually do something and change it for him? I mean, I feel like they did for the most part, but at the most part, you do wonder.
Yeah.
So, because again, how small is this town? How much do people really know each other? I know where I am, it can seem very vast and you might not, but like I said, it runs deep.
Yeah.
Surface level, it'll look like it's not happening, but deep down, it's happening.
Yeah. Annie, I agree with you. They are connected.
Yeah.
And when you feel that, your heart almost sinks because you're like, that means that this may never be solved, or that means that we may never find out where Sebastian's at.
Right.
Something would have to happen within that dynamics of that government for it to fall into place to find him. To find what happened. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it's so important, obviously, to keep pushing for that, because people will eventually break and get tired of being pushed. Yeah. I mean, you kind of see that with Casey Anthony. Every now and then, like, I don't want to say people push her, but like she feels pushed, I feel like.
Yeah.
She feels it. It's not actually happening, but she feels it. She feels pushed to go out there and tell everybody to mind their own fucking business. You know what I mean? Like straight up. That's what she wants to do. So she finds some new venture or some new relationship or some new whatever, to find some way to tell everybody to fucking fuck off and mind their own business. And again, like, pardon my language, but that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
And that's that narcissistic, like sociopathic, psychopathic tendency where they're just like, they're completely nuts. Completely nuts. They have no like reality or understanding of the fact that the whole world thinks they're crazy.
Yeah.
The whole world wants absolutely nothing to do with them. The whole world sees their guilt. And so it's like, get away from me as far as possible. So I feel like the Proudfoots fit into that. I feel like the Wells are a little bit more aware, to be honest, of when they say stupid stuff. At least, maybe not Candace, but Dawn.
Right.
I feel like she does that. So, but at least the Proudfoots and Casey Anthony, like they're just all in the same boat to me.
And the other thing that bothers me about Katie is that tells you that she wasn't the protective mom she should have been. She allowed her son to be around her mother, who can't be around children the rest of her life and is on probation for 99 years for SA of children. And she let him be around her. I can't understand that as a mom. You would want to keep your children far, far away from that. Uh-oh. We must have lost her and she's coming back. I'm
sorry. My computer just completely like malfunctioned.
I figured. I was like, she must have left. Now she's coming back. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, it's just my internet's like so patchy for some reason. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was talking about how Katie is not that caring of a mom because she
Right.
allowed her son to be around her mom, who was a SA.
Right. And what I was about to say is like I had recently just heard a video and I didn't realize because I've had a hard time listening to some of the in-depth
Yeah.
reports in that case. But then I heard where Katie apparently made this report to try to get Seth removed and from the house when this happened and some of the
Yep.
stuff that was put in the report. I think that's all stuff CP was doing.
It was. Yeah.
The whole saying the stuff to him and hitting
Mhm.
him and picking him up and throwing. I think that's all stuff CP was saying to Sebastian
Yeah.
about the situation. I don't think Seth did any of that. And that just,
Because
again, it shows you how twisted they are and how sick they are. That's what I'm saying. Like sometimes it's like you get two individuals together and it's kind of like it just makes the situation even more
vital.
yeah, volatile and
Yeah, that's what I
sick
was trying to
and
say.
yeah, and like and that's what I'm saying about the two of them. The only
Yeah.
thing like when I get it, it's just like sinister and sick. And I know I say that a lot, but that's like even evil don't do justice to them too. They're just sinister and sick.
Well, CP even said that when they went to court for the divorce. He was the one that wrote the parenting plan down. He's the one that made the parenting plan up.
Mm-hmm.
That was what he wrote it down. And I'm like, you shouldn't have even been involved at all in any kind of parenting plan.
Yeah. And there's people like that. Like, I mean, I even had a situation, and I'll bring my own situation into it, where the kind of same thing happened. You know, like there was this parenting plan I was introduced from from the other side of my child's party. And it's like I looked at it and it was just these crazy ass questions. Crazy questions. So I was like, what the to the point I took him, I printed him out and brought him to a school. Cause I was like, is this normal questions? Like of like a kid's daily activities and functions and like if this is just out of curiosity, why is it worded like this? And they were like, no, if I was you and what's going on in your situation, I wouldn't answer that. They're like, because whoever wrote this is not who they're presenting themselves at, because if this is what they told you they are or who they are, well, this is somebody much more than that by the way it's worded. They were like, so if I was you, I'd completely ignore that because you don't need to answer that. You know what I mean? If they want to ask questions about that, they can go around you and then they're going to get the answers they want. And looking back on it, yes, it was a very like, I'm going to trap you.
Right.
And try to make you look like this to make me look like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of that same thing. I like from what I'm hearing from what you're saying about the whole list. It's like someone even told me that when they looked at it, that was one of his teacher aides, like my oldest son who's autistic. They were like, that looks like they went online, looked up a survey or looked up a questionnaire and they sent it to you. And they're hoping you're going to say something that's not the right answer. So they could be like, look, you know what I mean? And so I ignored it. I ignored it and nothing ever, but I mean, you look at it, it's control. It's always been control. Like even with this particular individual, after everything happened, they were like, do you not realize like they were trying to control you? And I'm like, well, now I do.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice if somebody would have told me.
Right.
In the moment, like a therapist or somebody who was related to what was going on, like, hey, this is what's happening. And they're like, well, we can't do that. And I'm like, and that's the other fucked up part when you think about it. When you're going through all these proceedings and you're separated from your child and there's different households with separate, why wouldn't you be able to tell the biological parent what's possibly going on?
Right.
Because you don't want to rock the boat? Why? Yeah. What do you owe that other person? Because I don't owe them anything. I owe my child something, but I don't owe them shit. And I don't owe their new spouse nothing.
And if you wanted him to not be there, why wouldn't you do everything you can to help get him with his dad?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't want him, and why would you work against his dad?
Yeah.
Who's trying to get him?
Right. And like we talked about in the first interview, they laugh and brag about how, if Sebastian would have been in sports, Seth would have been the first person in the cheering for his son and supporting his son. So again, this shows you that he could have went to his father and he was going to his father and could have had this happy, experience and they could have had this life together and just started this whole new experience together. But yet halted that for your own selfish reasons.
yeah, makes, yeah,
So that's the part that, again, it's just like, okay, well, this is who you're dealing with
yep,
a little bit.
yep.
So, and that's what I was going to see. I don't have too many interviews of them recently, but yes. And then CP was trying to get custody of his daughter.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we were also talking about too. Do you mind if I take a break for like 2 seconds and I'll be right back? And do you mind
No.
kind of talking about your opinion on what could have possibly been the situation with Faith, and then I'll kind of tune in as soon as I get back.
Well, I'm glad that well, I don't think that he has. I don't think that they even have had court since then. Because I think once Sebastian went missing, I think that whole thing was dropped or put on hold or something. I don't think Wolfie. I don't think that he's even had a chance to go back to court to take Nina back to court for Faith. I think this has halted that. So I'm hoping that he won't get another date. I'm hoping that they won't reschedule it. That's what I'm hoping.
Right. Yeah. And
I'm
I
hoping.
did. I went as fast as I could. she got it. I went as fast as I could. And so yeah, that's kind of like what we were talking about though, is the date and stuff with CP coming up and stuff like that. Did you say that you thought a future date might be in place, or do you think that a future date might not be?
I don't think there's a
I don't
future
think so.
Yeah, I don't think they ever rescheduled it or anything.
Right. And that's what I think was the biggest like downfall in this. Like, what did you really think that making this happen was going to get you a court date to get your daughter back?
Yeah.
Again, that's like one of the disturbing things out of his too. Like, this is how off these people's brains are, that they think that this would have somehow worked out for them. Like, did they not think the whole world would have been like, oh my gosh, what happened to this child? Let's find him. You know what I mean? And then when they saw that they didn't do that, or they didn't act that way, that it wasn't going to cause suspicion. You know,
Because
so your brains don't even function like that.
because had Sebastian not went missing, then these CPS reports would have come out.
Yeah.
He went to court for his daughter, and that would have messed everything up.
And it kind of does make you wonder, you know, if just say it boils down to, you know, just maybe them mistreating Sebastian and certain things happening, right? What would be the point of making him completely vanish? Like Chris likes to say, just vanished into thin air. You know what I mean? Like, what would be the point of that? So how deep does this really run?
And I feel like a lot of it had to do because you know that when he goes to court for his daughter, those CPS reports are going to come up. Unless he found a way to squash them. But they would be able to come up, and the judge is going to say, wait a minute. If you got 5 CPS reports against you on your stepson, we can't allow your daughter to come and live with you.
Right.
You know, so he couldn't have that. But then my thinking is, well, Sebastian missing is surely not going to help your case. You were better off letting the reports come out and see what happened from there. But now that Sebastian's missing, you'll never get her.
No. And that's what like Wolfie's saying here. She didn't want her boyfriend to leave her. And that's what I think is gross. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to tell me, KP, you don't think there's anybody else in the world, you know, that's going to get with you or treat you and your son better. Like than what you've dealt with CP. Like, again, like, there's nothing about that relationship that shouts that this was a good relationship from what you see from the outside, their behavior now. Like, she doesn't even talk. I mean, she doesn't even ask for her missing son to please, you know, come home or reach out if he can, or, you know, if you're with somebody, like Seth says, please run, you know, as fast as you can to get away from him. So, yeah, to think that this was all done too for a relationship. Again, like, you just kind of have to keep adding that on. Add it on to the Roadhouse video.
Yeah.
Add it on to the comments of her saying this was going on for weeks, where she had to comb it over in her brain at the interview. Add it on to all the CPS reports. Add it on to CP bragging about how he made him sit in his own, you know, mess or whatever. You know what I mean? And again, I can't even say that without feeling cringe. So how CP says that with no cringe, I have no clue. And when I say cringe in the sense of like, how can you say that about somebody without feeling like a piece of shit about yourself for saying that about somebody? And especially a young child, you know what I mean? Whose appearance means a lot to them still, because that's what happens when we're all young. Our appearance and our personality mean the world to us.
Yeah.
So,
and that's there was a couple of things too. The rumor was that Katie was having an affair with the neighbor. Don't know if that was ever figured out or true or proved or anything. I have no idea. That's just hearsay. And the other
it would
thing
be convenient. That's all I gotta say. That would be convenient.
yeah. And the other thing was that that their marriage was on the rocks. They were going to be getting a divorce. And then Sebastian went missing.
Why do you think the divorce would have happened if they were planning this the whole time? Why do you think that was, and I'm just curious, like your opinion, like it doesn't have to be like facts from anything you heard or anything, but like with them saying like there was going to be a divorce, who do you think was pushing that divorce and why?
Chris.
Why?
I think he just didn't want to, because it was seen that he said to her, it's him or me.
So you think, even though they're both catalysts in this,
yeah,
you think that Katie definitely was the biggest catalyst and like, I want to keep this dude and this is what I'm going to do to make it happen no matter what he says needs to happen.
Yeah. I think
that kills me, man. Like that kills me, Tammy, like on the inside. It does. It does. I can't imagine how the hell your brain goes to that place.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But she just, now I don't know how true the divorce thing is, but right. I do know that there's a witness to him saying it's him or me and it better be me. Or what did he say? No, he didn't say that. It's him or me.
And I hope it's him.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. I hope it's him.
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, how could you say that? Like,
so if you say that, that tells me you're not really invested in it. You really don't want to be.
You know what? And my Chris brought out a really good point a while back. And it was in a live that Chris Prophet was talking about Sebastian and how long he was around and things like that. He goes, I was around for half of his life. Think about the weight of what he just said.
Yeah.
I was around for half of his life. He just told you he's gone, in my opinion. And he was only around for half of his life. So 7 years and on would have been almost half, right? So that's when a lot of these reports and stuff started. And the only reason and so it gives me the chills in the sense he goes, I was around for half of his life. Right. Not like I've been with him for 15 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, no, I was with him for half. Right. And Chris said that immediately after he said, and Chris is Andrew's stepfather.
Right.
An autistic son's stepfather.
Right.
And for him to jump out and say that, it was like, damn, I didn't even catch that at first. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, he sure as hell said that though. He sure as hell said that I was around for half of Sebastian's life.
Yeah. And then he has, they have proof that he went on a date. Well, I don't know. I think it was after Sebastian went missing. I think this was after Sebastian went missing. They have proof, supposedly, that he went on a date, and the girl that he went on a date with in this fancy pub or bar in Nashville said that he said his stepson or son was killed in a wreck or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was after Sebastian went missing. I can't remember how long.
It's kind of like Scott Peterson. Remember when Scott Peterson said his wife was dead and she had died and she wasn't even dead yet? Or if she was just missing, but nobody really knew yet. Or, well, it wasn't that she was missing because her family knew immediately. So he said that before she had even gone missing. What was her name? Amber Fry?
Yep.
because Nicole Kessinger looked her up like extensively. Tried to like, why does nobody like me like Amber Fry?
Yeah, because you're not Amber Fry.
Because you knew, like you knew everything, and that's what I think gets me about these relationships too. When they happen like that, you knew everything. Nobody feels sorry for you. Why would they?
Went to his house. You went
Girl,
to their
yeah, you went to his house, saw pictures, and was like, "Oh my god, your kids are so cute."
Yeah,
yeah.
please.
And then she said she tried to convince him to be with his family. Sure, you did. Sure,
No,
you did. you know
never.
what I mean? Like, I'm sure you did, Nicole.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know. Totally random, like spin off of what I'm talking about, but that reminded me of that. So
Yeah.
again, squirrels. I'm sorry, I do that the best.
Nope.
But slips, yeah, complete slips. You see these in a lot of all these cases where they slip up.
Yeah.
So.
And when he said the best thing about this is that he has managed to eluded police or disappeared
right.
or left. Yeah.
And that's when I said the best part about that is he managed to fool you so far. Yeah. That's what he is thinking. Now, I'm saying, like, I don't think he's fooled everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I'm saying, I think there's a good amount of people who, I think 2/3 of the people who are aware that him and Katie did it and set it up, in my opinion. But yeah, that's what I thought with that. He is talking about how proud he is that he thinks he got away with it. And you're so fucking stupid that you didn't even notice.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use that term with curse words because that's exactly how he's making fun of you. He thinks you're stupid. He thinks you're so stupid that y'all have no clue.
He's not meaning Sebastian was a ninja. He said it like that, but that's not what he thinks. He's really meaning I did it so good you'll never be able to.
Right. Yeah, and he means it like, oh, this kid who wanted to be a ninja, I pulled this off on him. And now I'm going to say he's a ninja. That's what I'm saying. It's sick. It's sick when you think about it because he
did, Annie. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's sick, because again,
it's sick. Yeah. He did say will be studied for a long time. Yep, he did.
Probably studied while he's in jail. And I'll keep saying that. I don't care. I'll say it so like the day is long. He's gonna go to jail, and so is Katie, and so is the Wells. Because I will talk it into truth if I have to.
We will manifest it into
I will manifest it as hard as I can.
Right?
I'll light candles and stare at it.
That's right. We will scry you right in.
I'll write your name in it.
We'll scry you. We'll scry your ass right into jail.
I got your birthdays. No,
that's right. and you look good in orange already. I mean,
he does.
You were pretty comfortable in orange that day. I don't know why you chose that unless you're wearing Tennessee Volunteer colors, but just saying.
Yeah. And that's what I joke. He goes into a lot of these interviews and the shirts that have pigs on them and like pig symbols. And it's like, everybody thinks you're dirt, like a pig. You're a dog, right? Yeah. So why are you wearing shirts with pigs on them? It's almost like he's taunting everybody all the time. Just like I said, how he went into that first interview with his bitten up arms, looking like bit up hot dogs, acting like he didn't, like it didn't look suspicious. You know what I mean? Like that is bite marks on your arm. You didn't even have enough shame to cover up your bite marks on your arm while you were talking about your missing stepchild. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like
even a big dog wouldn't make those kind of bite marks.
Not in that pattern.
No. I hope she does. I hope Nina has all kinds of evidence just compiled, just waiting. Especially all those interviews, Annie, that he done where he's so hostile and he threatened.
He's threatened women.
Yeah, he's threatened YouTubers. I've looked you up. I know where you live.
Telling them to lose weight and things like that and protect themselves.
I hope she's got all that because that shows aggression. That shows, stalking. That shows a lot of different things. And I hope she's got all that. I hope she sends it, just send it to your lawyer, let them compile it. Let them
look at it all together.
I know she's got one, because she was going to go to court. So I know she's got a lawyer, and I know they charge for documents for so much every document and all that. But, when it comes to your child, you're going to figure out
Oh,
a way
I
to
would go to the I'd go there. I wouldn't care what they try. I mean, because to me at this point, this is almost never ending until like something gets done in the sense of like a charge of some sort or something like that against them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just again I feel like there's enough. You look at the Harmony Montgomery case. It's almost the same amount of evidence about the same things.
Yeah.
So he's in jail for 65 years to life, her father. So I don't see again why that couldn't be done for Sebastian's case.
Right.
I feel like Summer's case is a little harder in the sense of some of the, because there's not as much. I feel like there is like digital evidence, but then I feel like there's also not enough to say like this is, you know what, which again, it was just frustrating because you look at Sebastian's, there is enough almost to say this is solid. You know what I mean? Like there's lights in the backyard at 3 a.m. They're making, and before that even comes out, they're telling you about 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, man. Like they're telling you about 3 a.m. They're telling you it happened on a Sunday. They're telling you this kid had the best day of his life. They're telling you, I mean, like there's enough there to say that's enough. You know what I mean? Like, and then there's other cases where you're kind of hoping they eventually take the same reign because they can. But like with Madeleine McCann's, there's enough with Madeleine McCann.
Oh, yeah.
Like way more than enough with Madeleine McCann.
Yeah. It's almost like there's going to have to be somebody that's going to have to get something in return to give the information.
And that's a shame. You know?
It
like,
is.
If these are children involved, so it's a shame that you kind of need to trade over information to kind of get and a lot of truth comes out with lies. And so usually when people are lying, like, you know, and again, we kind of watch a lot of these analyses and like Wolfie said, people will build off their lie. So they're going to tell you what actually happened and they're going to spin it because they don't really know any other way to do it, because you can't really just make up something completely unless you're like a really sophisticated liar.
Yeah.
Which like that goes into like who?
Chris Watts.
So do you think Chris Watts was a complete like psychopath, or do you think he's a psychopath or a sociopath? If you had to, and this is not us like whatever, like diagnosing him. We're not doctors. We're not none of that. But I'm saying from like what you see, like, do you think he was probably always like this? Or do you think that this is something that popped up when he met Nicole?
No, I think he was always like this.
Yeah, because he looked up, how do you feel when you love somebody? Or how do you tell somebody you love somebody? Or something like that.
I don't think he had that emotional. I don't think he knew how to feel.
No.
I know that's weird to say. But he like when he was talking, when he was saying stuff on the steps, like he said a lot like Katie said, I just want him to bulldoze. I just want to bulldoze him down. What does Chris Watts say? Oh, I just want them to run through the door and bowl me over or bowl me over or something. And I'm like, you know, so it's kind of like that unmotion, that motion doesn't have feelings. Like they don't know how to
connect.
They don't know how to connect. They don't know how to control their emotions. They don't know how to use them. They don't know what they're feeling.
Why do you think Chris Watts would have wanted to get, and this, I'm super curious about this from your opinion, really. Why do you think Chris Watts would have wanted to get married then? So this is, and the reason I ask this is because I've been talking more in my personal life with people and talking about like how some people get married only because they think they should. And it's like some kind of achievement, right? See, I don't really get those kind of things. And I'm not saying you do either. But I guess just from your perspective, why do you think, if that's the case with like Chris Watts or anybody else in that situation, why do you think that they would marry only to say, I'm married, I have children?
Because what's
the goal of it?
I think he just thought that's what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, but like I don't get the fulfillment. Like,
but
do you think it's an actual emotional fulfillment, or do you think it's just a check mark?
Yeah, I don't think he got any emotional fulfillment.
So more of like a check mark then.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to check off these things that make me normal.
Yeah. Okay. And I don't think he actually wanted kids
or a wife.
I think he just wanted to have fun, but his energy for me is very complex because he's very like. He's got this weird thing going over here where he like stares weird, where he looks kind of like
he's childish. Chris Watts.
Yeah, and then he's got this side of, if you look at him, it's like he's really kind of on an evil side. He's like really, he's got this side that he buries, and that if you just hit him just right, he is evil. Or
Well, he doesn't have much of a look to his eyes. He's
right,
very vacant in his eyes, and he doesn't blink a lot. So, and
yeah,
that's why I said sociopath, psychopath. If you look it up, technically, like I said, I'm not diagnosing nobody. I'm just saying, if you look it up, they don't blink very much. They don't have like a glimmer to their eyes. And I noticed that on the porch. He did not blink at all, really. And he had like no light kind of gleam to his eyes. Yeah. And he's like, well, not to mention he's grinning and like licking his and doing all this weird stuff that most people, like you wouldn't even be able to do that if you're nervous in the most part, because you'd be dehydrated, you'd be all these things. You know what I mean? Like your emotions would be going. So the fact that he's even able to like try to control his emotions shows you that he's very aware, like very, very well aware of everybody around him and what he should be doing. So
and I think his is from childhood. I think he's always been like this. I mean,
do you think that like he had to be that way in his home, or do you think that like?
I think there were issues in that home.
Do you think like it came from both of them? Yeah, like mom stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting married 5. Getting married 5. Or bi-monthly stability that everyone thinks they're doing well, but he still wanted to carry on with stuff behind the scenes. Yeah, and so like, I don't get that either. Like, I don't get the whole living this life behind somebody else's back, and I truly don't get this kind of stuff. I really don't, because my brain don't go that far to like putting in effort shit like that. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. And so like I don't get like what was the fulfillment for him from Nicole that like Shanann wasn't giving him, because Shanann very much loved him. Yeah, boasted him up constantly, even when he didn't. I think
no responsibility was what he got with Nicole.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, if he was so intelligent, didn't you know that going into your life with your wife was going to give you responsibility?
Yeah, I think he got just that little bit of time by himself, and Nicole showed him, hey, this is what it can be like if you're single, or if it's just me and you. And he didn't have to worry about kids. He didn't have to worry about a wife. He didn't have to worry. All he had to do was get up and go to work. They could go out and eat. That freedom, I think that he just got a little taste of it. And
do you think that when he was, or do you think that with Nicole, do you think he was even telling her these things? Or do you think that he would say things and kind of leave it vague for her to twist it how she wanted? I'm just curious, like what your
I think he would tell her things and just let her.
So you think he purposely dangled information?
Oh yeah,
and let it be twisted.
Oh yeah.
And see, and I look at him and I don't see that much intelligence. That's why I'm like, dude, like I'm so interested in this, because I'm like, I look at him and I don't see that much will or intelligence. And
he's very vindictive.
He's very intelligent. I don't want to say that. I actually take that back. He's very intelligent. Yeah. But I guess maybe drive is a better word, or like.
He's very vindictive.
Yeah, that's maybe what it is. I don't see a vindictiveness in him. So that's a better word. Yeah. Thank you for throwing that in. I don't see a vindictiveness when I first started watching the case. Yeah. Even though I felt that he felt these certain ways, I didn't feel like he felt a vengeance about it.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what I didn't pick up.
Yeah, he's very vindictive, because I hear people talk about, how Shanann was bossy and she made him do all these things, and he had to, she was mean to him and all. And I don't, nobody really knows.
Right.
Nobody really knows how their life was. But even
exaggerates too.
Yeah. Even if she was like, you have to do this all the time, even if she was controlling, let's use that word, she didn't deserve what she got.
No. And that's why I pulled up what Woofy just said. I've literally been told by somebody who's done me wrong, I had my cake and I ate it too. You know what I mean? And so it kind of, I guess that's why I relate back a lot to this case, and that's kind of why I brought it up. You know what I mean? Because it's very much the same. You thought you were living this happy life and this perfect life, and then you find out later this person actually probably despised you. Didn't even know it. You know what I mean? Told everybody how much they didn't like you, and you were just like, I had no clue you hated me so much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when she says this, have his cake and eat it too, it's crazy because that's exactly what the person said to me. So they were like, I loved having my cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's super fucking hurtful, but okay. You know what I mean? Like you could
Yeah.
have just like left. I mean, that would have been
Yeah.
a better option
Right.
than just like being a dipshit, but okay.
Yeah. And
So,
see, he didn't have to fork out that money.
you know,
to
that's another thing, money. Like, how does money tie into a lot of this stuff? You know, too, like, I don't think I've ever been so tied to my money that I'm willing to just get rid of, you know, well, yeah, I obviously haven't, but I can't, again, imagine, you know, like, that's why I
Yeah.
always am so interested to
Yeah.
get, like, your perspective and all the, you know, viewers' perspective on what they think. Because it's, to me, like, with Sebastian, again, can't imagine it. With Summer, can't imagine it, you know,
And-
with Watts, can't imagine it.
And I think the money thing was a lot of Nicole too, because, you know, her Shanann's ring was lost and then found.
Right.
So were you going to pawn it if she hadn't enough?
Well, she told him to pawn it, remember? Nicole said that Chris said something about the ring and she's told him to pawn it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There you go. That's your answer. Yeah, they were going to pawn it.
So I don't think he had any feelings for Shanann, and I think he's the one that hurt Shanann? Yes. Do I believe he's where he should be? Absolutely. He is where he
hurt
should
her. You believe he's actually the one that put her where she is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually believe he done that to Shanann. Do I believe he done that to his daughters?
No.
No.
Because he doesn't tell the story consistently or in depth like he tells Shanann.
Yeah.
When he tells you about Shanann, he's in the moment. When he tells you about his daughters, he's on the outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're looking at it too. And all their phones, I believe, when I say all theirs, I mean him and hers, pinged within that area, I believe, that morning. And when she talks about it, she literally like clenches with her hands like she's choking somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that he couldn't have done that. I think he was too weak to do that. I think he loved his kids. I think he didn't know why he loved them and he couldn't figure it out, but I think he did. So
I don't think they were part of his plan.
No, it was part of Nicole's plan.
Right.
So that's why I said I have no problem blaming anybody by name or what they're doing. So it was Nicole's plan, and I think her friend helped. What was his name?
Right. Jim. Leave Jim alone.
Jim helped. So I do think these two individuals helped. I think they helped plan it out. And that's why she's in the interrogation room saying, don't talk about him. Don't talk about him. This has nothing to do with him. Same thing with CP. Every time you get close to his family, don't talk about them.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
talk about them. Oh, wait, are we talking about your mama who kisses your ass that makes you think that you're the best thing in the world, but you're actually dirt? Are we talking about your mama, CP? Or are we talking about your dad who has no balls?
Oh, yeah.
Your dad has no balls because your mama has them on a mantle, and your mama has yours on a mantle too. You just don't know it yet. So that's how I feel about
fit when you talk about his mom.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a good relationship with his mom. He wants the world to think he does, but really his mom has him on a leash.
Yep.
That's how I feel. And again, I'm only going off of what I feel when I look into it and I tap into it, and I just feel like his mama has him on a leash.
Yeah.
And I think that his dad is very I don't know how to say this. Someone who watches from the back, I guess is the best way to say it. Yeah. So I think it's disgusting. I think that's all. You know, I think CP is disgusting. I think his mama fuels it. I think his mama tells him how great he is.
Oh, yeah.
That's where this biggest downfall is.
She's a big realtor, so she knows people. She knows lawyers. She knows.
And you remember in his chart, it said to look at properties.
Yeah.
And his mama, even in the court case where we did see them in it, his mom looked very overly invested for something. Like, why are y'all all there?
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing. I feel like I wouldn't all be there. I would kind of let them handle that in their best way that they could.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're all there shows you they all know something.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yep. I agree. Let me
see. The children being killed was vicious. Yes. And that's the thing. Thank you for saying that. We were just talking about that not long ago, Wolfie. Females are vicious.
Yeah.
in their planning. They will torture and they will do different things. Like females usually will poison, plan mercy, unalivings. Like I feel like happened with Sebastian. Things like that, because it's like this weird, like, I don't know, females are just like that. I really don't, you almost have to look it up. It's more common though.
Well, you know, like in school, girls are mean. Teenage
Yeah,
girls
they are
mean as F.
I remember sitting in what is it, like an auditorium where you would do like shows. I can't think of what they're called right now.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like you'd be in school and they do like dancing shows and stuff, like right before like a football game.
Like pep rally.
Yeah, pep rally.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting there one time and there was like 5 or 6 girls sitting behind me and they were just pulling my hair and throwing things at me. And I had my boyfriend next to me. And at the time, I was like 15 and I was like, can you please tell them to stop throwing things?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they were a lot bigger than me and there was like 5 or 6 of them. You know what I mean? So I was like, can you please tell them to stop like throwing things at me and pulling my hair? And he wouldn't do it. And so finally I had a girlfriend that was sitting next to me and she turned around and looked at him, and all she had to do was look at them a certain way, and they stopped instantly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was like, I just still don't know what I did wrong. So I'm just saying, like, there's certain things like that. It's like, I feel like what you were just saying is kind of the same thing in that sense, you know?
Yeah.
You just kind of get picked on by girls. And, or just people in general when you're younger for no reason. Let me see, like the mushroom killer. Who's the mushroom killer?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Should we pull it up if we can?
See, I think that is.
I'm like, I don't know how great my internet's going to work, but I'm curious. I love mushrooms.
I didn't say that.
I love mushrooms. Most people hate mushrooms, but I love mushrooms.
No, I
actually,
do.
most of my past life stuff, it'll tell you I was poisoned. And it will. Because whenever somebody's like, oh, I made this for you, I'm like, what's in it? And I'll start smelling it and stuff.
Yeah. What's in it?
I'm like, what is that? I don't want to be poisoned. What is
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just gonna put mushroom killer.
Oh my God, my ex's mother was like that. She would sit and pet. See, I just, you makes you think when you meet
weird
somebody like that and they're that close to their mom, like, there's got to.
Wrong with
that's
you?
Weird. Yeah, that's weird.
It is weird. So let's see. Let's pull up mushroom killer. Hold on.
Or to be even close to your sister like that would be weird.
It's all weird. It's all weird. They'll tell you it ain't weird, but it's all weird.
It is all weird. I agree.
They just don't want any questions.
Yeah.
I think this is it. Is this it, Wolfie?
She tried to kill her in-laws and hubby.
It looks like it's her. It looks like a mushroom killer's face.
Oh, that's the one that Aussie's talking about. Is her name Elizabeth?
Here. It says Aaron.
Aaron. Okay.
Patterson. Hold on. I'm gonna try to like.
Aussie's talking about that one, Wolfie. She's had it on her. She's had She's had about 4 or 5 lives on it, I think.
Okay, let's try this one. We'll see if it works pretty good. It might. You should hear it, if anything. Mother effer. Like, what is this? Didn't want to work.
Quit buffering.
Well, I unplugged my little extended router earlier, but I didn't think it was going to be this damaging.
Wow. Are you having bad weather?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. That's why I'm like, what's going on? I might just leave it open like this instead of zooming in. It seems like when I zoom in.
Well, after 8 weeks of hearings, all evidence and closing arguments in Aaron Patterson's triple murder trial have been presented to the jury. The 50-year-old's barrister finished summarising his case this afternoon, where he tried to convince them the prosecution's argument is flawed.
In his final comments to the jury, Colin Mandy SC launched a scathing attack on what he called the convoluted and absurd suggestions made by the prosecution, including that Aaron Patterson would commit murder without a motive, knowing the police investigation would fall directly to her. He says the prosecution's argument, Ms Patterson's reluctance to receive medical treatment in the days after the lunch, is proof she was faking her illness, doesn't make sense. If you're pretending to be sick, you're going to be saying to the medical staff, hook me up. pump me full of drugs. I am very, very sick. Instead, he claims Ms. Patterson left Leongatha Hospital after being told she may have ingested death cap mushrooms because she was overwhelmed. It was an extremely intense 5-minute interaction where she was told that she would be admitted and transferred to another hospital in Melbourne. She was plainly struggling to process what she had been told.
I'm sorry.
He
that
challenged
made
the
me
police
laugh. I don't
interview
know why.
given by Ms. Patterson's son,
was-
in which he said he couldn't remember his mother making an emergency toilet stop on the side of the road. Prosecutor Dr. Nanette Rogers previously told the jury if that had happened, the child would have known about it. But Mr. Mandy said, "We suggest that if his mother made a stop at the BP Coldmead to buy food for everyone, that's something he would also recall." But he didn't recall either of them. Mr. Mandy said the prosecution wants the jury to believe Ms. Patterson's diarrhea was a symptom of distress because her plan was coming unstuck. But he says her toxicology results showing that she had low potassium, elevated hemoglobin and fibrinogen couldn't be faked. Erin Patterson's barrister says a turning point came for his client in the days after the lethal lunch, when the mother of two came to the terrible realisation her actions may have caused the people she loved to fall ill. He says even an innocent person in that situation can panic and lie to avoid blame. It doesn't excuse what she did, but you can't jump from there to what the Crown wants you to conclude from those items of evidence. He told the jury that when deciding if his client is guilty, their decision must be absolute. If you think that at the end of your deliberations that it's a possibility that this was an accident, a reasonable possibility, then you must find her not guilty. Justice Christopher Beale will deliver his directions to the jury on Tuesday before they retire to consider their verdict. Erin Patterson has pleaded not guilty to murdering her 3 in-laws and poisoning a 4th, claiming it was a tragic accident. Abby Dinham for 10 News First.
They're muted now. Okay. So that's interesting.
That is interesting.
She probably took him. Yeah.
So,
So guilty. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I think she's trying to say about women. They will poison. They will watch you be tortured. They will watch, they will do those things for the most part when they're on the bad side. And that's why I think with KP, there was some of that element to her. With Nicole Kessinger, I think there was that element with her. So I think that's kind of what Wolfie's talking about as far as like torture from women, things like that.
Right. Yep.
Because
and she's
women are the worst about it.
And she's walking free.
Yeah. Well, poisoning is hard to like prove. And that's why I think, well, you know, if you watch, like, have you ever watched like, I think it's like Deadly Women or something from like, I don't know if it's Lifetime.
Yes, I've watched it
Candace
before.
DeLong.
Yeah.
If you watch that, there's so many episodes and they're all women. All they do is poison, really. All of them. They all poison and they will tell you because they enjoy watching it. Things like that, kind of things, you know.
And Nicole Kessinger, she's just walking free after, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that what was it? The video of her at the, what was it called? The funeral.
Funeral.
Yeah, it was a funeral. Yeah, that went super viral for a while.
She's gained some weight since then.
Yes, she has. So, you know, she's probably not like into her normal routine or her normal mind frame, things like that. Or that shows you she was also pretending.
Yeah.
With Chris. And I do think that she kind of, because you look at her internet, what is it called? Like her internet background of whatever was happening before. Like she knew about him a long time ago. Like she was looking at like Shanann a long time ago. Yeah. So just say he didn't know. Well, she knew who he was. Is kind of the situation. And if she didn't know who he was, if you're looking at it that way, then they did already meet in some shape, way, or form. Because why would you be looking up somebody you don't know?
Right. Because he said he only known her about, I think he said 5 or 6 weeks, but.
No, I think they knew each other for about a good year, to be honest. It usually works out that way. Even when I look back at my situation and they openly put it on Facebook later, it was like 2 years.
Yeah.
They try to act like it was 2 months. It was 2 years.
Yeah.
They even have it on there. So I'm just saying, like, you look back at stuff, it comes out, I guess is my point, though, eventually. It's not so much that I care the time frame. It's just, it comes out.
Right.
And you realize it was a lot longer. And when you look at when she looked him up, when she
Right.
saw certain things, it kind of relates back to that time frame.
Yeah.
And it relates back to before he probably was even completely aware of her at certain times.
Right.
I don't know if they were completely aware or not.
I
But
can't see him like noticing somebody, like noticing women or noticing somebody. I can't really see him doing that. I what I see is like they have to just come up and be aggressive. Like, hey, like introduce themselves, and
yeah.
I don't see him just walking up and flirting with somebody and making conversation. I see him as having to be approached.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that too. So I feel like
He's
he
just
was
too
approached.
quiet and weird.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's somebody you'd have to approach. It's
Right.
somebody you'd almost have to offer something to, it
Right.
seems like. And that's what I think Shanann did. She offered him a life.
Right.
She'd offered him like an identity and those things where Nicole was telling him all these things that she offered you are no good.
Yeah.
What I can offer you is better. And so, yeah, again, I wouldn't fall for that. So I can't tell you why he fell for that. But funeral video, I thought,
She was
yeah.
way too pretty for him,
Oh, yeah.
in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And too smart. I feel like, and I'm not saying he's not smart. That's not what I'm saying.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I never want to say that and make someone sound dumb. That's never what I
Right.
mean, but it's like he didn't have the social awareness that she did. He didn't have those things, those kind of awarenesses that she did. So he needed her
Mm-hmm.
to be able to front,
He
like
didn't
you're
know how to
saying, to
be-
front to people.
He didn't know how to be social. He had no social butterfly about him whatsoever.
Not at all, yeah. And even
Yeah.
his sister said that about him, that she was always worried about his personality and things like that.
Yeah.
And she went after him because of his looks. Yeah, I mean, he was good looking, and again, he was submissive to her.
I don't think Chris is good looking.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at basic looks, though, you know what I mean. Like, I'm not saying like it's yeah. Like, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I get what you're saying. I think, but
Yeah.
if you're looking at like if you're trying to find somebody who will father your kids and tell you everything's good, I think it's basic looks, kind of like.
I mean, yeah, you could do a lot worse. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. But I thought he was just, as people say, and I don't really. You can take it however you want it, but she was definitely not in his league.
Yeah. Sorry,
Or
Connor's asking for us.
He was not in hers.
No, he wasn't, and that's what I'm saying. She kind of invited him into
Yeah.
her league.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I got that too. Like you're saying, he invited her into his like her league, and kind of and that's another thing. Like you kind of look at too someone who wasn't able to maybe have social skills and things like that.
Right.
Like you think that like her bringing him into that and having this nice like lifestyle would have pleased him.
Right.
Because I mean, I feel like if I had no social clues, it would have. But again, I don't think like that. So I don't know. I'd rather be alone and just chill on my own and then be stressed out about a bunch of stuff.
Somebody was like, well, he was autistic.
I don't know about that either. I'm tired of people using the autistic thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're using it for. Why do you think they say that? Do you think as it's like an excuse or like
Well, for Chris, I think they were just saying it because he was like, he didn't talk much, and he didn't really look at you a lot of times when he talked to you, kind of stared off to the side. I think they just use, there's mannerisms that mimic somebody that might have autism, but that doesn't mean they have autism.
No. I can go to my doctor and tell them mannerisms that I have that are similar to both my autistic children, and they'll laugh at you.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Disrespectfully, actually. I got mad at really one of my doctors were doing. But yeah, they'll laugh at you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's crazy because I have 2 autistic children. So that's crazy that you don't find any similarity in that.
Yeah.
But okay. Like, because I'm trying to figure out myself as I get older too. Shit, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to figure out things like everybody else. And when they laugh at you, it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe that's completely wrong.
Right.
So I don't know.
And I think people just looked at him and just said, oh, he looks, because he does this, he looks like he might be.
Right. And why would being autistic give you a pass either? You know what I mean? Like my sons are, autistic and they're not mean. Like they're not aggressive. No. They're not going to like, at least, from what I've seen, like my oldest son's 18, my youngest is like 8 almost. So a good 10 years gap. And I don't see that in them where it's like, oh, because they're autistic, it's okay for them to behave a certain way or be dismissive of feelings.
Yeah, I think his issues develop from home. I don't think they're medical like that. Or I don't think he's, I think he's got a chemical imbalance, if you want to say it that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think something's not right there.
Right. I agree. So maybe we'll look at a chart for them too soon. I've never actually done a chart for them, and it's like over the whole situation.
Okay.
I mean, I love doing the charts now. I'm kind of throwing them in,
Yeah.
to see like what we kind of get versus, what we've already kind of heard and things like that. But like Wolfie is saying, they think being autistic gives them a pass, and I agree. They think that it's some kind of pass. I'm not sure what it is because again, with 2 autistic children, I don't see any kind of bad behavior that should be excused.
Right.
So it'd be interesting to see what they think that is.
Yeah.
But
And the records for the girls are supposed to be closed. I don't know if Shanann isn't a part of that or not, but for 50 years.
Right.
So
being autistic means they're not responsible. Right. So, and I guess because in my household, you still are responsible, so because what would happen if you didn't make them responsible?
right.
But it is interesting, like how you get it on both spectrums now, like whether it's an excuse or it's a reason to be mistreated, whether it's an excuse to get away with something or it's a reason to be mistreated. And it's kind of like the complete, like there's no in between. And that's kind of where you kind of want to start seeing that in between pretty soon.
Yeah. Because
there is an in between and it exists.
Right. And the reason I think that he didn't have social skills and he was just not, because he never had a girlfriend.
Right.
All through high school, he never had. Shanann was his first girlfriend.
Yeah, that's what they said about it. And that's what isn't that when his sister said she thought he was autistic because of that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, maybe he didn't even like girls.
Maybe, because you hear a lot about that now, or that might be the situation.
Maybe he didn't even, maybe that was all a facade, but why would he have an affair with NK?
Well, I mean, from her search history, it doesn't sound like there was much of the,
Right.
I mean, the search history shows there was probably a lot of that going on that says the opposite.
Right.
But yeah, we'll look at that definitely next time, maybe, and kind of go a little bit more. It definitely will go more into depth with Summers because I want to go ahead and kind of go more into her legal proceedings and see what we can expect from that and stuff.
I'm going to talk about Summer and Rose on my live on Tuesday night. I'm going to talk about, there's not a lot about Rose, that I can talk about. There's not a lot of information out there about Rose, but I'm going to talk I'm going to talk about her because I think I had planned to give her, before Summer went missing, I had planned to talk about her on Cher's channel. And then Summer went missing and she kind of got thrown to the side. I did do a reading on her, so that's on my channel. But I want to talk just a little bit about her because I believe they're connected.
Yeah, I agree. I think they are too.
So I want to talk a little bit about
her. Maybe we can look into hers too.
Yeah.
But Chris wanted to say hello.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hello.
You haven't sent me any jars lately.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm feeling slighted.
Oh, you shouldn't feel slighted. I'm there with you in spirit.
Okay.
Yeah.
You better be because you hadn't sent me any jars in what, like 3 years, Megan?
It's been quite some time. Yes, it has been. Yeah, I do apologize for that. Well, I will get working on getting those spiritual jars ready for you.
Okay, I will be eagerly awaiting your jars.
You will receive it.
Okay.
Just keep your whispers, secrets, and mysteries.
I shall. I will keep them all to myself.
That's ridiculous. Remember when he sent you that jar of? Oh, is that what? That's what we were. The grossest jar on earth.
Oh yes, I remember that jar too.
Yeah. So I want to try before we sign out though. I remember we talked about the video
Yes.
for
Yeah.
Sebastian, and kind of like as far as like Sebastian in the video I kind of get with him with the music video. So
Right.
And I'm gonna try to go ahead and play it, and hopefully it plays pretty well. The graphics might not be what I want it to be,
Yeah.
so we'll see. But let me go ahead and pull it up.
Okay.
Because I did want to share it with everybody. So when I do Sebastian's readings or charts or things like that, I hear this song a lot. And so the reason I wanted to share it is because I kind of feel that connection of like where maybe he's trying to voice, his experience maybe or something like that. So let me see real quick if I can go ahead and pull that up though. So this is going to be a song by Imagine Dragons. So we're going to, after the song plays though, y'all, we're going to kind of sign out. So did you hear it as soon as it started to play?
Nope.
Okay. So I'm going to pull it up on the screen now. Can you see it?
I can see it. Yep.
Okay. So this is a song I hear a lot with Sebastian when I do his readings or I try to tap into anything with him. So the reason I want to play it is just because I think it's super important in the video itself. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful video. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead. Does anybody have anything that they want to say? Yes. Thanks for being here, everyone. We're super appreciative. And again, make sure that you hop on over to Tammy's channel. Her link should be in the description. If it's not, I'll go ahead and add that as soon as we get off, but it should also be in the comments as well. So, but we want to thank you so much for being here. Is there anything that you want to say, Tammy, before I start playing this song for Sebastian?
I hope, like the chart says, that pretty soon things are going to start falling, because it has been right. I mean, it's been right and on cue, and I hope this summer's things start slipping, and things start coming out. And I do believe they're going to be put. I do believe they will go to jail. I do believe that.
I do too. I think, it might not all, again, everything that we do reading wise is all predictions and opinions, things like that. So it might not fall within that time frame, but I do believe they will go to jail.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So, and hopefully, Summers follows suit in the same way. And hopefully these new laws help expose some of those things so that that can be done.
I think Sebastian's, in his case, I think their charges are going to be a little different though.
Yeah, definitely.
Or charges are going to be different.
Yeah, because that's more of an orchestrating to me, where I feel like, again, more of Summers was more of like an accidental, neglectful kind of just again, try to cover it up, where I do think, again, Sebastian's was more of like a merciful thing.
Right. Yeah.
So, so we're going to go ahead and hop into this video. So again, I want to thank everybody so much for being here. I hope y'all enjoyed this live, and I hope y'all enjoy this video. So again, thank you, Tammy, for being here. I love you so much, my friend.
Absolutely, my friend.
And now we'll listen to the song.
And watch the pictures, the graphics.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for saying that. The pictures alone. So if you're not able to see this, maybe look it up after, but the pictures do have a lot to do with this video and the song. So here we go.
I know that.
Okay.
So love you. And thank you everyone for being here. So y'all have a good night and I will talk to you soon.
Good night.
Bye. Love you.
Love you, my friend.
Bye. I gotta get off of you.